What's happening, San Diego? Happy Monday to you. Hope your morning is off to a great start. We are ready to roll with 20 more hours of live local San Diego sports talk for you. This week, it's your midday hang at Annie and Elsten on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We're all together back in our Odyssey studios overlooking Murphy Canyon with Annie Halbron and Braden Suprenant. Craig Elsten here for the next 4 hours, live local San Diego sports talk radio, rolling till 2, bridging the gap between Ben and Woods and Gwen and Chris. What's happening, Annie?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Came a little quicker this time around off the weekend, but it was a fun time at FanFest. I'm sure we're going to get to all of that and some other good stuff that happened in sports over the weekend. The Aztecs pulling off a win, and I know you're probably salivating to talk about the big NBA trade.
I mean, one of the biggest trades in the history of sports. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest trades
ever.
It
didn't really make a lot of sense, at least in my books, at least from an outside viewer.
Most people's books.
I have a lot of Mavericks friends that are no longer Mavericks fans.
Yeah.
They have completely just been like, I'm done.
Yeah. You know, we can get into it later. Mm-hmm. We can get into it later. But we will. We'll, in fact, probably even in a couple of different segments because it was so big. It was so huge. Yeah. Such a gigantic moment in the sports world to see Luka going to L.A., Anthony Davis going to Dallas, only one team being contacted when you're shopping one of the best players in the world, literally in the world. Yeah. So much intrigue. We'll get there, but that's not top of list today because otherwise I'd just be selfish. I'd just be like, hey guys, let's just start talking about Luka.
That's kind of the biggest story in sports right now. So
it is.
It kind of is.
We're not an NBA market.
Right.
I know we're not an NBA show, but I'm an NBA guy for sure. And as Ben mentioned, I was the one. I don't know why. I think, to be God honest, I think it might have been the Underdog app that sent the first notification I got on my phone. It was that or ESPN. But I was like everyone else where I saw it and I went, what? And then I checked it and went, what? And then I immediately texted because Ben is a lifelong Lakers fan. Mm-hmm. My buddy Bill Lukey is a lifelong Lakers fan. And my buddy John Gennaro is a gigantic Mavericks fan. And his entire family is Mavericks fans. And I had the very unfortunate just happenstance to be the one that broke that to them while they were in the middle of watching a movie and having a very enjoyable Saturday. Not at the theater, but they were at home watching a movie, having an enjoyable Saturday evening, and I just threw their family into chaos.
You were the dark cloud to interrupt it all. Yeah, when I thought it was funny when Jeff Passan retweeted it. It was like, it's a big trade when Jeff Passan's retweeting
right?
an NBA trade. But no, I have a few friends that are also big NBA and big Mavericks people, and they were like, what is happening? So
we'll get into it later for sure. Also coming up, as we mentioned or alluded to, Ben's Aztec tweets. Got to do that because as it turns out, the Bill James saying that we kept bringing up during Padres season completely applies to Ben and the Aztecs. Like if the Aztecs are great or if the Aztecs are really not good, Ben's Aztecs tweets, really not a hit segment. You know, he barely has any motivation. But if the Aztecs are mid.
The Aztecs being on the bubble puts Ben in the blender.
Exactly. He's in the torture chamber. And as a result, we get to extract the sweet juice from the torture chamber. That will be Ben's Aztec tweets. We'll be doing that shortly in the first hour of the program. We're certainly going to go through a lot of FanFest. Of course, we were all out there on Saturday. Thanks to everybody. We saw that show related there on Saturday. Avocado Zach was there. Tyler Ellison was there. Saw him and his a lovely partner as well. Charisma was there.
Yes.
Got the chance to chat with her. So many fans. Great to see all of you. Dap you all up over the course of it. Thanks for hanging out with us for those 2 hours underneath the overhang there at Section 113. And it was a good crowd at FanFest, and a little bit of news that came out of FanFest as well. But I think more than anything, a great reset and reminder that for most Padres fans, they are still excited about what happened last year and hoping to have another good year this year, and it's kind of just that simple and that straightforward.
Yeah, you get back to the ballpark, you start kind of feeling those vibes again, the ballpark vibes. It's always a beautiful place to be, and especially on Saturday, it was great weather out there, great crowd. Not the crazy crowds of 2023, but I think that's a good thing. I mean, that Fan Fest was so hard to get around. This one was a good crowd, but it was, it was still, you were able to get around the premises and kind of go see what you wanted to see. I know the autograph lines were very popular for a lot of people. So I think just overall, if you were out there, you probably had a fun time and got yourself a little bit more excited for baseball.
Absolutely. It was great to see folks, and it was great to be out there. While we were there, the Padres were kind enough to walk over Trevor Hoffman and Jackson Merrill. We had them both for about 7 minutes each. And we'll play both of those interviews for you if you haven't gone and found them already on our YouTube archive or on podcast or somewhere else. We will replay those on today's show. Coming up at 11:20, we'll play Trevor, and at 12:20, we'll play Jackson Merrill. So stay tuned for that. Just a little bit later in the program. And again, we'll review the weekend in college hoops. More of what came out of FanFest, more Luka talk. Plenty still to come. Jim Bowden did another thing. Bowden, I never remember.
It's Bowden.
Bowden. I thought it was Bowden. I don't know why sometimes it's Bowden in my mind. We're not bowing to him. He had a 2-minute clip on foul territory about the Padres, 3 potential paths. And one of them I get, one of them I don't get, and one of them I just cannot endorse. Just cannot endorse. Yeah. So we'll get into all of that. Coming up in our baseball hour at 11 o'clock. 12 o'clock, Sports Fix, midpoint of the show. Weekend in review. All the news from our local sports teams along the way. We will get that to you. Today's silly game, kicking off a new month and a new prize. That will be Anybody Knows. Anybody Knows is coming up at 12:45, the game of very easy trivia where you go head-to-head with Annie Heilbrunn. I will wrap up the show with Ask Us Anything. Okay, but before we go any further, it finally arrived. It finally arrived. It arrived this morning. It arrived this morning via email. So it is time, Annie, 1 week late for you to receive your birthday present from the Annie and Elsten show. And here it comes.
Weird.
Let's see if I can make this happen with this app. But here we go.
Okay.
Here we go. All right.
We're going to go solo this.
All right. Here we go.
Hey Annie, Ashton here from Below Deck. I want to wish you a very, very happy birthday. I think it was the 27th of January, so we're a little bit late, so please forgive me. I hope that it's going to be an incredible year for you ahead, filled with nothing but all the good things in life and whatever else your heart desires. And that's from everybody at the Annie and Elsten show, but as well as more specifically your co-hosts, Craig and Braden. I hope it's going to be just the best year for you.
Wow. I've never gone to Cameo. Now I see why people want those.
Right?
I got a little, my heart got a little pitter patter.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, yeah, how can it not be a good year now?
Ashton
that
from Below
Ashton's
Deck.
telling me with his sweet little accent.
Okay.
It's going to be a great year. I kind of want you guys to send this to me so I can keep
of
it
course.
in my...
No, of course.
Oh, we got it for sure.
We've got it. You'll get your
first
own
I want to say
copy.
thank you both very much. That is very nice of you. Very nice present. I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was going to be a jib jab. And so I really appreciate this. But no, that's pretty cool. I don't know what goes into getting someone to make a cameo. Like, you obviously had to pay him.
Well, yeah,
So,
I mean,
you know?
it's a website. You find a thing.
But did you have to write him, tell him what to
add some
say?
notes.
Some,
Yeah,
notes
some
Okay.
notes.
Okay.
You know.
Well, I felt like it was very sincere from Ashton.
I felt so too.
You know?
I thought he was very sincere. Okay, now the first time I heard that, I thought New Zealand, but now the second time I've heard it, is he South African?
I have no idea. I just know I like it, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
where
I
he's
just
from.
know I like it.
At first, I was like, this is kind of like Annie's Siri, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it really is.
100%.
I feel like I have a connection with Ashton now. So
I'm gonna look this up because
wow.
now that I heard it again, I've just watched too much International Survivor. I actually can suss these
let's
accents
see
a
if I
little
can
bit.
find.
Ashton
where
Below Deck. Ashton Pin. It kind of looks South African.
Oh,
Name.
South Africa. Yeah, South Africa.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
South Africa.
Love it.
Well, you
Wow.
know, he's a handsome.
Wow, we might have
handsome
to
bloke.
play that again. You know.
Oh yeah,
throughout the-
absolutely. And listen, that's part of getting a cameo. Now we will send you the file, and you can have it in your phone. You can just save it under photos, and anytime it's
Now,
kind of
how did you pick Ashton? Like, what?
We are looking for a below
cheaper
deck
than
Okay,
Captain
okay.
Lee,
That's
basically.
right.
Is
Yeah, exactly.
I would say even better than Captain Lee. I would say
Okay.
even better than Captain Lee. You
All
know,
right, good.
Captain Lee's got the dignitary part to him, and he is the What does Kate call him? The Sultan of the Sea. The something of the Sea.
Yeah.
Sultan of SWAT. No, that's
He's not the Sultan of SWAT.
The Stud of the Sea. That's
Stud
what it
of the
is.
Sea.
Stud of the Sea. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
That was my next guess.
Yeah, Captain Lee, Stud of the Sea. That makes sense. That just rolls off the tongue. But Ashton, maybe studlier. I mean,
Ashton's got some.
Objectively.
He's got some photos of him out in the webs that are, he's working out and all that.
yeah.
So, you got a little.
Sure.
well,
Anyways, thank you guys so much. I really
course.
appreciate this. I was not expecting that. Way better than a jib jab.
That's way better than a jib jab.
And I really appreciate it.
jib jabs come right away. I think they take like 15 minutes.
I was wondering what was taking so long.
Well, that's why.
I was
We had to
thinking, what could there be possibly that you could get on the internet that is not physically showing up?
We had
that
to
would take
reactivate
that
his
long?
account. And
Yeah, usually cameos you get you have a week. You have a week. And so because we learned on your birthday that it was your birthday.
Yes.
Therefore, you got it a week
Yes.
after
I
your
think it's even better. I think it's even better that I got it a week later. It's like the
Yeah.
birthday continues.
Exactly.
So
keeps on rolling into a different month.
gift that keeps on giving on a rainy February later, just Ashton, there he is.
this is great. Thank you both. Very much appreciate it. Very
You
much.
bet.
And it will live on for me. So
It'll
that's
live
great.
on. It'll live on. All right, when we
ways.
come back, we'll get into some of Manny Machado's comments from FanFest. He has thoughts on ownership. He has thoughts on Sasaki. He's in not the best shape of his life, but he's feeling really good. His elbow feels good. He's feeling strong and lifting man weights and doing the whole thing. We'll chat some Manny coming up right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. The Slam Dunk in Vegas National Contest is your chance for the ultimate trip to Las Vegas. All you have to do is download the Odyssey app, log in, and listen to 97.3 The Fan for at least 1 hour, and that creates, like that, a daily entry into this national contest. And if you win, if you're the lucky person across the country who wins, your grand prize travel and accommodations for a winner and 3 guests to Circa Resort and Casino, Las Vegas's premium sports viewing destination, where you can watch the biggest March hoops party at Stadium Swim, plus $20,000 cash. Good luck. Download the app, listen to us. 1 hour, please. And then you're set.
Just listen for all 4 hours. Get 4
I mean, that's even better.
Is that how it works?
By definition, you're listening already.
Correct.
Because you heard me say that. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of where. So what if you're in the car on an hour-long drive? What if you're driving to L.A. right now, and instead of listening on the radio, you plugged in your app to your phone and you streamed it through your car? Boom. Entry. Just like that. You're in. And we get the credit either way. So works for us. No skin off our back. So just, divert through. Surrender to the Odyssey app. Leave us a voice message while you're there.
Please.
We'll play them at 1:45. Hey, if you send a good one in the first half of the show, we might play it at 11:45. You never know. Just try it.
Maybe you were at FanFest. Maybe you have some thoughts and opinions.
Call our bluff. Go ahead and leave us a message and see if we played in the first half hour or first hour of the show, first 2 hours of the show. Okay, still to come this hour, Ben's Aztec tweets, a trip through anxiety as players are fouled and 11 points are scored in 2 seconds.
Oh, you got some gray hairs from that game. It came down to the wire, the literal last minute.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's like the Aztecs are starting to really do Aztec things that you're just like, oh, we're doing this again?
We're doing this again.
I thought this was way back like when Braden was a kid that these things were happening. No, it's happening again.
I don't think I've ever seen them not do these things.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
They're a young team. They do young teams.
They are a young team, exactly.
They play with their food.
They're inexperienced.
They play with their food.
They really do.
And they end up winning the game. It just is not a pretty win, you know? Well, they end up winning some of the games.
Well, they can't afford to lose anymore, so
exactly.
they can't.
They can't even afford to close win anymore.
I know.
Yeah, Sushi Sam didn't watch the whole game.
They're still alive. They're still alive. They just need to stay more alive.
More on that next segment. Right now, let's hear from Manny. We've got the full clip of his interview, his press availability. Let's put it that way. And what we're going to do is just kind of do the classic thing. We're going to hit play. We're going to listen a little bit, and then we'll hit pause, and we'll talk a little bit. So let's hear what Manny had to say. Not back pause, but yeah.
It's good. It's been going great. Love it.
Than any others?
Yeah, got a baby. So it's been different, but yeah, just healthy. It's been a different offseason, especially from last year was a little different with just the rehab and stuff. So this year, kind of just getting back to my own old routine.
How does every offseason differ? With, maybe some new teammates, based on what happened at the end of last year, how good you were, how disappointing. Like, how is this different that way?
I mean, I don't think it's different in any way. I mean, I think you still prepare to try to be better the next year, right? And, take the good and take the bad and learn from both of them and move forward and try to be as best as you can the next season. But as a preparation standpoint of it, you try to prepare the same way every single year and try to be as healthy as you can, to withhold that long season of 162 grind. So, in a preparation standpoint, I think you just try to be as healthy and as strong as you can to, go back out there and try to repeat it.
So you got the baby, your wife, and you're getting ready for the season. And I know you helped host Sasaki. How much have you paid attention to what's going on or not going on with the team?
I mean, obviously, those are a lot of things that were, is out of our control, right? We can't really control those things. He had the option to sign anywhere he wanted to, right? Obviously, we wanted it to be here, and he went a different direction. That's all right, but at the end of the day, we gotta, look at the guys that we have in here. Are we disappointed we haven't made any moves? Yeah, I think, as a team, we kind of look up there and you're a little disappointed that, we let some of the guys that were a core group here, kind of go elsewhere. But at the end of the day, we can't control that, right?
Good place to stop right there and kind of dig into what we just heard. And Listen, what else can you say if you're in a power position like Manny?
I appreciate him being honest. He's being honest. Yeah, I mean, as a player, it does probably stink a little bit. Like, you're looking and you're seeing other teams are making moves, and you're seeing your guys that you're very close to in the clubhouse, and that helped you win games last year, go to other teams. I appreciate his honesty a lot right there. And he just said it. You're like, look, we got to go out there. We're going to go out there and we're going to try to win games. Offseason isn't over. We heard AJ Preller in the leadership panel. AJ Preller didn't talk to the media, but in the leadership panel on the stage for the fans, say that they need a few more bats and a few more arms. So, Manny knows that. But at this point, I completely understand where he's coming from. He's wanting to feel that excitement like everybody else.
Yeah, I believe he specifically said a couple of bats and a couple of arms. And seeing as there are 4 empty spots on the 40-man roster,
yeah.
Now I know what we need to do with them. We need to fill 2 with hitters and 2 with pitchers.
Yeah.
And then that'll be good news. I also appreciate what Manny said there, and it made me wonder just how old he is, because it almost sounded like he was quoting the start of the Facts of Life. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life.
I would have never thought that off of what he said. But Braden, were you thinking Facts of Life? Do you even know what Facts of Life is?
I know what that is. That's not what I was thinking, but he answered that. He answered that the way anybody that's in charge of the team should answer that, and that's he's got to. They all understand that these decisions come down to more than just like roster construction, right? And setting up they all make their own decisions based on setting their own family up for success and their future up for success. So he answered it that way. He pointed out the obvious, right? He didn't give you, and there's a lot of athletes that give you the fake happiness vibe all the time.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, it's all good.
Sunshine,
it's all good.
roses,
We're all good.
all
Yeah,
the time.
But
right.
he did a good job of not necessarily, throwing the front office under the bus, but also addressing what the fans are looking at and not trying to to gaslight anybody into thinking, what they want the narrative to be. I mean, he said flat out, it's like, hey, look, it's disappointing that we're not making the moves that we're making, but again, he said the right things of we can only control what we can control, right? And that's the big thing for a lot of players. And when you got guys like Manny saying that, we talked about it on Saturday with Jackson Merrill in our interview, and guys like Xander Bogaerts are doing the right things, and the way this culture has been assembled here in San Diego the last couple of years with their leaders, like a Joe Musgrove and a Manny Machado and the Xander Bogaerts and some of these guys that have been with the organization a long time, that these off seasons are not going to affect their psyche. They're not going into the season like fans are, where they're, oh, how are we going to be able to compete with the Dodgers? I don't know how we're going to do it. And as a fan, you know what? You can say those things. You're not part of the organization. But as a player, the reason why these guys are in the position that they are and playing at the highest level is because they've never thought about that in their life or their career. They've always thought that they're good enough to go out there and take care of business. And he gave a very business-like answer that addressed the elephant in the room, but also mentioned that we're focused on ourselves and we think we got a good ball club.
Yeah, and Emma Key in the chat says 100% thought Facts of Life. So they were feeling you, Craig. But no, actually, I think that it's kind of apropos for Manny, Facts of Life there, because he's been around the game so long. I mean, Manny's going to tell how it is. He's been around the game so long. He's seen it all. He's been through the ups. He's been through the downs, the seasons where they're projected to win it all and they don't, the seasons where they've been the underdog and they do. So nothing surprises Manny anymore. And I didn't take that at all as he doesn't believe in his team or he doesn't feel like they can go out there and win. He does. He said it in the answer. And as Braden pointed out, it's just more the kind of the reality of it, a little bit of a sting, a little bit to see some of their teammates go to other teams and not get anyone else back yet. Players want the owner to spend money. For sure. They want to sign new players, trade for new players, and also keep all the good players. That's all a player wants, right? Get what especially once you've gotten your own bag and you're settled, then you just want your team to be as good as possible, as long as possible. It's kind of that LeBron mentality that you do understand. Like, hey, I'm playing, I'm great. Every year I want the team around me to be really good because that maximizes my chance of being great. And you want a player to think that way. You want a player to think that way because they're competing, they care. So it's the front office, I think, respects that. Players want you to go out. They want the best team they possibly can have. But they're also going to get into spring training and they're going to look around and they're going to be so excited to see all their teammates, and they've got that great core back and whoever else AJ Preller does bring in, and they're going to feel like they can beat anybody on any given day. It's just kind of how it goes. You like the passion out of these guys and not the whole
because they could have the attitude of, well, I got my money,
Exactly.
right? Like, I don't really care. Like, as long as I got, paid and I'm just going to be here and do my thing and worry about myself. I mean, these guys obviously really want to win and they want the best team possible in order to do that. And, you kind of want some of the, top players vocaling that, we need some help and we need you guys to go out there and get us some help. And be a little disappointed when they're not making all those moves that they've done in the past. But I think at the same time, everybody understands the business of baseball. The players, the front office, everybody involved. They understand sometimes the money doesn't work, and so they got to deal with what they got.
Yeah, and in fairness, like we heard Jackson Merrill talk to us, and we'll hear that later in the show about how they like their team, and
Sure.
they think that they've got a really good team, which they do, and I know Manny does too. And also, you heard Jake Cronenworth on with Ben and Woods talking about like, hey, we got a good core. We have a good team. Like the continuity is good to have all these guys back and the coaching staff back the way it is. So there's definitely pros along with some of that feeling of like, okay, let's get a few more guys.
Let's take a time out when we come back, and we're going to have plenty more baseball talk to come, including at 11. Jim Bowden, John Morosi as well. The very latest. What are the outside folks chitter-chattering about? Where are the rumor mills? What are some of the paths A.J. Preller can take? Because if A.J.'s going to get us a bat or two and an arm or two,
Which he says he is.
how are we going to do that? We're just going to pay for it?
He's got his moves up his sleeves. And his
Okay.
Got some moves up his sleeves,
pants.
pants, socks,
Pause. Also,
ears.
Does he wear hats?
I think he does.
well, yeah, the floppy ones.
Yeah, he wears exactly. The
Oh man,
floppy
it's
ones.
almost time for those floppy hats at spring training.
Yes.
And
The
I don't
sun
blame him
hats.
for that. You got to protect yourself from the sun out there.
Yeah, Legionnaire
That's right.
hats. It's the kind of hats he wears.
I bust those out
And
every
also,
once in a
nobody
while.
can like see him underneath it. He
Uh-huh.
can be on his phone, or he can be making like faces, and
That is the
Making
you
faces.
don't know.
that is the 7-on-7 coaching hat is what that is over
Yes.
the summertime.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Let's take a time out, and when we come back as well, Ben's Aztec tweets, a tweet journey through an anxious Saturday night. All of that still to come in this first hour of Andy and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 10:36 on the Fan. Welcome back to the Annie and Elsten Show. Annie Halbin, Craig Elsten, Braden Suprenant here with you. We go Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. Gwen and Chris will follow us right on in, and then it's the Scrapey Show from 6 to 7. Okay, let's turn to college basketball for a moment, or for the segment, at least part of the segment, because it's time for Ben's Aztec Tweets. This is one of our newest segments, year 2 of the Annie and Elsten program, but always trying to find what's our hook to get in, because quite often, although of late, San Diego State's given us more to talk about by being so anxiety-inducing and middling and potentially out.
On the bubble.
Yeah, bubblish. That does give you a little bit more to hang on to, but sometimes it's hard to gin up a lot of excitement for a Saturday game against, Wyoming. But that's where Ben Higgins comes in. Because Ben, he can find that interest. He's still a 12-year-old fan at heart when it comes to, strangely, only the Aztecs. Still not sure why. He went to Pomona-Pitzer, didn't even go to San Diego State. But he's just got this love in his heart for the Aztecs basketball program in particular. Yeah, he doesn't get all worked up over a football game. But the Aztecs men's basketball team is a team that he cares about. And when it doesn't go right, then we get a good segment called Ben's Aztecs Tweets, which, as it turns out, all we really need is for the club to struggle against other programs that they should beat. And Ben's Aztec Tweets, gold, Jerry, gold. So what do we got, Braden?
We got some gold, for sure. One of them I read. Once I noticed the score was close on Saturday, I was reading the tweets to my buddies as we had the game on, and I was dying. One of them killed me, that we'll get to in a second. I counted him. He had 10. We had 10 tweets on Saturday during the San Diego State-Wyoming game. Number one, which just set the tone for the game. An underwhelming first half at home by the Aztecs, period. Weird, period. Which it was, a very underwhelming first half by the Aztecs at home against a team that is just not very good. And this has been a problem for San Diego State in the last couple of home games. I mean, it just hasn't been, they haven't really dominated at home, with their 3 losses at home, but also a lot of these games have been a lot closer than they need to be, which led to his next tweet. There's a special kind of tension for San Diego State fans in 60% of Mountain West games, knowing a loss can ruin the season, but you absolutely can lose anytime you take the floor, period.
I mean, it's
He
true.
must have been in his feels right there.
Yeah, he was in his feels, and it's just that anxiety. He's living in that anxiety of the Mountain West is a difficult conference. There's trap games galore. There's all kinds of teams that don't have a super high ranking, but do have the ability to rise up and bite you if you're just a step off of your game. Mm-hmm. And, while I'm sure some other blue blood loving, fan would go, well, yeah, throw North Carolina in there and they'll beat them all by 25. Maybe it's true, but that is the nature of the Mountain West. The travel, the altitude, all the built-in excuses that make it a tough conference, 20-game meat grinder schedule. It's all true.
It is all true. Which leads to his serious question of the night. Serious question, : is a 7-foot freshman shot blocker now the Aztecs' best three-point shooter? ?
Answer yes.
Answer Daily Double. Here comes the whistles to even up the fouls, period. And then his next one quote tweets that and goes, like clockwork. Nothing like Ben criticizing the officials of the Mountain West Conference, although they're all independent contractors, so you get a bunch of different guys. Trying to goal. This is my favorite one. In fact, I'm going to give him a little like from the fan account. Like.
Nice.
Trying to goaltend a shot that has no chance of going in is just ... something. In fact, I even remember watching that play going like they're asking for a goaltend and the ball had no chance of going in the cylinder whatsoever. And the fact that Ben put that out there was great.
Hilarious.
And then they start to, Wyoming started to pull away a little bit late there, and you're thinking, oh, this is very, very bad. And Ben goes, Aztecs really playing with fire, using the fire emoji.
Oh.
Wow, Ben's really feeling it now. I mean, Ben doesn't use a lot of emoticons in his tweets.
True.
He dropped the fire emoji in there. And then after the Aztecs finally get to a spot where they win the game, Aztecs cruise to another victory, period. Never in doubt, period. He had a couple of post-game tweets. Not sure what Nick Boyd said, but his ejection will cost the Aztecs in the metrics by allowing Wyoming to narrow the final margin needlessly. And then the last one he had was, I was there the day the Aztecs blew a 10-point lead to UNLV in the final 28 seconds. This is even more incredible, even if they win, 11-point down to 1 in less than 15 seconds. That is the definition of just crazy Aztec basketball right there.
Yeah.
You're not kidding. And also not kidding is that the Aztecs took a hit by barely winning the game against Wyoming. And that's the world of college basketball that we live in now. And whether you like it or you dislike it, it's not the old saying of they don't ask how, they ask how many. That's true in golf. It's true for the baseball scoreboard. It is not true for college basketball. They ask how and how many, and how'd you do it, and what were you supposed to do, and were you stylistically proper in the way you did it, and did you meet the computer's demands?
Yeah, just winning isn't enough, especially when you're playing the teams that are in the bottom half of this kind of conference, right? And a mid conference, as you might call it, right? But 3 weeks ago, this is from Mark Ziegler's article. 3 weeks ago, they were 31st in both KenPom and the net. Now they're 44th and 49th, respectively. And your Tritons, UC San Diego,
Yes.
for context, he writes, is 51st in the net. And as we talked about last week, probably needs to win the conference tournament to get in. But it kind of shows you they're on the bubble. They have 9 regular season games left. Only 2 of them can offer the possibility to move up. The rest of them, you've got to win by a lot, it sounds like, in order to not stay on that bubble category.
Well, and they're competing with a lot of major conference teams that are going to be playing quad 1 games almost every single night. San Diego State has dropped to 45th now in the KenPom, which is actively moving all the time with results.
Yes.
UC San Diego now down to 56.
Oh, okay.
But they're still, in the top. San Diego State's in the top 50. UCSD just on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
But you're looking at like Joe Lenardi's latest bracketology, which I think was on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, about some of the teams in the bubble that San Diego State is competing with. You look at who those schools have to play and what they're level out as, and they're one of the last 4 teams in with New Mexico, which is a team they definitely have to beat at home. North Carolina, they got smoked over the weekend. They're not very good. Their name, I think, helped propels them in their conference. But North Carolina, UCF, the final 2 teams in the tournament, first 4 out: Xavier, Virginia Commonwealth, BYU, Arizona State. 3 of those 4 with Xavier. I think Xavier's in the Big East, right? I think they are.
It's one of those quizzes I'm not.
I think they are.
You've got your quiz from college broadcasting. I can probably ace, but conference
Conference
realignment,
realignment.
I no better than 70% at best.
BYU, Arizona State, UCF are all in the Big 12. They're playing quad 1 games all the time.
Yeah.
So they're going to be loaded with quad 1 games, where San Diego State is not going to be loaded with quad 1 games, and that differs based if you play them at home or on the road. So, with some of the best teams coming in to Viejas, right? Because they already went to the pit and lost to New Mexico. New Mexico coming in, depending on where they're at, the fact it's a home game could make it a quad 2 game instead of a quad 1 game based on where the metrics are for New Mexico at that point in time. Same thing with Boise State, who they've already played on the road, and they have to come back. That being said, like going to Wyoming and getting a win is a lot better than beating them at home, so that would increase their metric a little bit. But the reality of the situation is they really got to keep rooting on Houston and keep rooting on Creighton to really help them out, because aside from that Houston win, Aztecs kind of mid right now in terms of where they're at in the field of the NCAA tournament. Think about if they didn't win that game. They'd be on the outside looking in right now, and you're looking at a conference tournament win you would have to do in order to make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually where I wanted to go next on this, which is here in San Diego. I think everyone who supports the Aztecs program has gotten so used to making the tournament and tournament success that they might not remember the beginning of Steve Fisher's tenure, where for the first decade, it was always coming down to Selection Sunday. Right. And it was always a big if. Are we going to make it? Or sometimes San Diego State's card was not pulled. to go to the tournament, and they'd have a decent team that would be on the outside looking in because they didn't win the conference tournament. I think it's time, if you are an Aztecs fan, to shed unnecessary expectations for the 2024-25 team, to shed that heavy cloak that's weighing you down of, we are entitled to make the basketball tournament. We are expected to win, and no matter what, we are the at-large team. We are the team that'll get the highest ranking out of the Mountain West, and we're going to make it no matter what. I think we need to start steeling ourselves to the possibility that the Aztecs at least have to make the conference tournament final, if not win it, to get it. And as a UCSD fan, right, our expectations are already locked in. Doesn't matter. We win the next 10 games. No one's thinking that UCSD is going to get pulled as an at-large. They know it's going to come down to winning 2 games in Vegas in the Big West tournament, and that's where you're going to make your hay. And I think the Aztecs are close enough now, 9 points separated in the Ken Palm, but I think the attitude, Annie, of Aztecs fans is not there. I think the attitude of Aztecs fans is like, oh, we're a 4 seed or a 5 seed because we're the Aztecs.
Well, and I think, I mean, look, if the way Brian Dutcher runs that program and those coaches, I mean, everything has to be earned. I think that there's an expectation now that, like, they're just going to be good enough every year to roll right in, and this is not guaranteed by any means. And look, if they do make it in, you have a team kind of like we've seen with the Padres in the past, where you had to fight tooth and nail to get into the tournament, and maybe there's not that they wouldn't appreciate it in years past, because I think that they do appreciate it every year, but there's just a different identity to your team, and that's what they're going to have to do this year. I mean, it's not guaranteed. Sitting here today, we don't know if they're going to make the tournament or not.
Right. And that's the situation as it stands.
Yeah, and some quad 1 games you got in the Mountain West. I mean, the only quad one opponents are New Mexico, Utah State, and Boise State. And that's only Boise State on the road. Boise State at home does not count as a quad 1 game. It counts as a quad 2 game.
Really?
Yes, because again, it's based on the metric and where you're playing. So quad 1 games are home games 1 through 30 in the ranking. Neutral sites 1 through 50 and away 1 through 75. Since Boise State on the road is within 1 through 75 of the whatever I think it's the net or whatever the ranking is, they are considered a quad 2 opponent at home, but a quad 1 opponent on the road. So if you're looking at games that are still on their schedule, and it's kind of weird because they have every game on here with projected scores and final scores. The ones that are left, which would be just basically games in February that are quad 1, home against New Mexico on February 25th, at Utah State on February 22nd. And that's it. That's all the quad 1 games they got left.
Yeah.
Quad 2 games left. They have Boise State and Colorado State. So this week against Colorado State and Fort Collins is pretty much a must-win for the Aztecs to kind of help them out a little bit, because after that you're playing, a lot of teams at home, a lot of teams that are in quad 3, quad 4 that are just, a no-win scenario for San Diego State, where the teams they're competing with for a spot in the Big 12 conference are playing quad 1 games night in and night out based on how good their conference is.
And then the last piece of the puzzle is upsets in conference tournaments, because that usually will kick 1 or 2 teams into the bracket that wouldn't be there, and then that puts those conference regular season champions head-to-head against other at-large teams, and that's a spot where San Diego State could find themselves out by the numbers game and not in the field of 68 if they don't punch their own ticket. So it's been that kind of stretch of regular season, and I don't think it's harm or anything negative as Aztecs fans to calibrate our expectations down to, we're in bubble territory. There's very little to be done to improve San Diego State's fate. If they win out, it still doesn't actually improve their fate that much compared to what they need to do in the conference tournament to guarantee their fate. Maybe we start focusing on that a little bit more and hoping maybe there's the soft pillow landing of an at-large berth, but it's not expected the way it was in past years.
Yeah, they're kind of treading water with most of the games, even if they win by a good margin, just kind of based on who they're playing, except for the ones that you're talking about there. So, or the few that can kind of uproot them in the standings. But yeah, I mean, look, we all, and I'm sure San Diego, is hopeful that they make it into the tournament. But this is going to be one where, yeah, they're you got to finish strong as you possibly can. And I think Brian Detcher has the right. I mean, of course, what is he going to say at this? But I do believe him on this. You got to play good basketball and find ways to win, and the rest is going to take care of itself. And that's literally what they have to do. They can't focus too much on these standings and where they're rising and lowering, because you've got to go out there and you've got to play really well and win these games. That's the first benchmark you need to hit in order to get to anywhere else.
Now, based on the metrics and the predicted win-loss for the remainder of their games, they have them winning 7 and losing 2. They have them losing in Fort Collins 69-68. Coming up on Saturday.
Ooh, can't wait.
Which is going to be a close one. So obviously,
we're going to miss a free throw at the end.
Yeah, exactly. A must-win game at this point. And then they got them beating San Jose State on the road, beating Boise State at home, beating Fresno. Fresno's not very good, obviously. And then going to Logan, Utah, and losing by 2, and then sweeping New Mexico, Wyoming, UNLV, and Nevada to finish up the season. But again, there's not a lot of opportunities to give your metrics a little bit higher, because if you look at the RPI, Colorado State's a 97, San Jose State's 203. Your best options are Utah State, which is a 25th best team in RPI. New Mexico's 27th, and Boise State's 65. Everybody else is in the hundreds, which is not going to improve your status too much. And if you compare them to like a UCF, their margin of error is very, 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 very thin at this point in time. So I'll pull that up and see what the it's like for some of those Big 12 schools that they're competing with. But the fact that those schools can lose close games and get rewarded, and San Diego State needs to basically start beating teams by 10 points or more, puts a lot more pressure on the Aztecs.
Ton more pressure. For UC San Diego, they have a very clear path. They know at-large is deeply unlikely, and as such, it's all about either finishing first or second in the Big West, because if you finish in the top 2, you get a double bye in the conference tournament. You go straight to the semifinals. You're going to if you're number 1, you're going to face the lowest rated seed at that point, and you're really talking about win 2 games, go to the NCAA tournament. So, as such, a game off the lead right now, a game off the pace, this is a gigantic week for the Tritons, because they host UCR on Thursday at Lion Tree Arena, a team that beat them on the road.
Team that's 3-0 against the top 2 teams in the conference.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've got a great guard who went great guns for 40 points against them last time. So UCSD really needs to lock in on that game. And then Saturday is the return contest at UCI. And, of course, Irvine came in, sold-out crowd, beat the Tritons. Yeah. They've got the 7-footer that the Aztec I've done it twice, but we're talking about the same 2 programs in the same sentence.
I think I'm going to go to that game.
Yeah, at UCI?
Yeah, I'll drive up there after the USD game.
That's great. I wish I could go.
At the Bren Event Center.
Yeah, I know. Just because it's going to be an exciting matchup either way. But if UCSD could steal their thunder, and take that game back on the road, all of a sudden the path to the number 1 seed is looking really, really strong.
It's right in front of them.
Yeah, exciting week to come. And USD will also play basketball.
Yeah, they got games this week.
Yeah,
that was a rough one on Saturday. But you just want to be in the top 2 in the tournament. That means you're in the semifinals.
Get up there.
It means you got to win 2 to make the NCAA tournament instead of having to win 3 or go through the process. You want as least amount of days in Vegas as possible.
Tritons rising. Keep the Tridents up. Let's go. All right, 1 hour in the books. Annie and Elsten Monday get together. When we come back, our baseball hour. Jim Bowden say what? John Morosi say what? Plus our Trevor Hoffman interview. All ahead. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com. Get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. Annie and Elsten back with you. Hour number 2 coming to you live on 97.3 FM radio.
They got the Tritons winning every game but one to finish out the year.
And that one would be Saturday.
Would be Saturday, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just basically, it's kind of like the CalPreps rating system that I talk about in high school, where it's like if your rating is higher, you're going to naturally just be picked to win. So, like, Irvine's RPI is 24.
Yeah.
So they're obviously like, and then they basically just take what your RPI is, what their RPI is, kind of subtract the difference, and that's kind of what the spread is.
So was it 9 games left? They're picked to go 8-1?
Yes. And they're not even like, none of the games are really close.
Should
But
put
there's-
them at 26-5 if that was the case.
I think that is going to be the case. I mean, if they can make it through Riverside on Thursday, which is at home, again, quad 2 game because it's a 62 RPI at home instead of being on the road, which would be a quad 1 game, like Irvine is. So that'd be a good deal for the Tritons. But after that, I mean, Cal State Bakersfield 245 in the RPI, Davis 152, Cal Poly 214, Hawaii 206, Northridge 137, Fullerton 308, Long Beach State 291, UC Davis again 152.
Who's Northridge again?
Oh yeah, Northridge, Cal State,
CSUN?
No, CSUN. That's
Thank you.
right, CSUN.
Thank you.
I want to upset
CSUN thanks you.
all the CSUN alums that all despise the
Yeah.
fact that they're called CSUN.
They're going to send you emails now.
You know what, CSUN? If you want to be called CSUN, get your RPI out of the 137 spot.
Yeah.
Be at least top 100 before we can consider you CSUN. Until then, you're Northridge.
Yeah, John Fisher wants them to be called CSUN.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no, we're calling you Sacramento and we're calling you Northridge. We're just going to abandon those pretenses and move forward. Okay, speaking of moving forward, we move forward into our baseball hour here. We almost always talk baseball in the 11 a.m. hour on Annie and Elsten. And once the Padres season begins, the deep dive hour returns.
Yes.
And we will be diving deep, talking Padres, 11 a.m. hour every day because we can. And we proved that we could last year. Proof of concept. We did it. Okay, right now,
We're pretty close to that mark, huh?
it's getting closer all the
So
time.
close.
Getting closer all the time. I think I saw yesterday, I think today's 50 days to opening.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think today is 50 days to opening day. Because I think I saw yesterday 51. So,
Less than 100 days to spring ball for high school football.
you guys. You guys.
I'll have the countdown for opening for
Jeff has
kickoff in the fall
52 days
soon.
in the chat.
52? Okay,
guys
maybe
are
I
gonna
saw
have to fight
53.
it-
I don't
fight it
know.
out.
I believe Jeff.
Your calendar
I'm
ripping.
gassed. I believe Jeff.
What's Gemini say, Craig? What'd you
I
guys
could go ask Gemini. I could ask Apple Intelligence if I wanted to as well. Let's see what happens.
Semantics.
Hey, Siri, how many days until opening day in Major League Baseball?
Great radio.
Do you want me to use ChatGPT to answer that? Yes, I do.
Just give me the answer, Siri.
I know, seriously. Why do we have to
give me
work
the
with
answer.
ChatGPT? Like, can't you just tell me?
What kind of weird partnership is this?
I agree. Well, anyways, 52
deferring.
days. 52 days.
All right.
50. Oh, Jeff's
Good job,
right.
Jeff. Jeff's
Can you
on
say it for me in an Australian accent, please?
Okay, let's get
No?
to Jim
Okay,
Bowden.
sorry. Apparently not. Apparently not. Okay.
You're pushing your luck there, buddy.
I know. I came
Alrighty.
close. but hands were up at the right time, though.
Yep.
Maintain my verticality.
Yep.
No foul. Okay, here's Jim Bowden on foul territory on possible paths forward for our beloved A.J. Preller
All right,
in the
Jim.
next month. Oh, look at that. What happened?
What happened, Jim?
What is that hairdo?
No.
Annie, how would you describe that hairdo?
It reminds me of like a bowl cut.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
Jim has seen better days, my guy.
what's the one where is it? I don't. This is not even me trying to be mean. Dumb and Dumber. It's Jim Carrey from Dumb
Yeah.
and Dumber. You know
Oh,
when he's
wow.
got no, just like the bowl cut, the way that it's.
well, he kind of is giving the look right now too. So
Yes.
that's rough. Well, let's hear what Bullcut's got to say.
All right, here we go.
Well, it's definitely an ownership issue. There's no money, and they're projected to make significant losses. And so AJ has no money to work with. That's why he was hoping to be able to get Sasaki, even though he had a pre-cut deal with the Dodgers, apparently. He was hoping to get Sasaki and hoping that wasn't the case because you put Sasaki with King and Cease and Darvish, and you can still win, right? Now you didn't get Sasaki. You got Musgrove that's going to be out for the year. And so now he's looking at the team, realizing his best shot for the playoffs is a wild card spot, which he has a chance to, but no profile, no Kim, as you mentioned, and no pathway to add anybody that's making any money because your orders are to cut payroll, not to add payroll. And then you've got the double conundrum in the fact that, okay, Luis Ariz is a free agent, Dylan Cease is a free agent. So now what are you going to do? So now you got to go to the market and say, okay, I can't extend either one. I probably, with a year out, instead of waiting to the trade deadline, should see what I can get now. You go through that process, and as the Brewers learned a year ago with Corbin Burns, I mean, the price is Joey Ortiz and DL Hall, and that's best case scenario. That's all you're getting. It's not like you're trading Juan Soto. So, the trade value is not what it is. So then you say, well, what about Michael King? When you get King, you've got more control with him. Does that get it? So I think the Padres are looking at it two ways. Number one, we could go for it, try to get a wild card berth. If it doesn't work, we can make trades at the trade deadline to retool, or let's see if we can't get 6 or 7 prospects for 3 of our better players now and kind of start this rebuild now, because financially it's not going to get any better. They've also gone down the path of saying, hey, we'll trade one of our top prospects with Xander Bogaerts if you take Bogaerts' contract. So they're trying to find other ways also to reduce payroll to try to afford to do other things. But, they put themselves in a tough corner. And until the ownership either provides more resources or gets settled, I don't see the Padres' situation in the front office changing until that changes.
What a delightfully positive message from Jim Bowden today.
I don't understand a lot of things on this, but here's what I don't understand from a standpoint of national media, right? And maybe I'm naive on this, but I don't get the whole they can't afford to stay at this level anymore with and they list the number, like the $200-something million. Well, if everybody's payroll continues to go up and the cost of every player continues to go up, does that mean the Padres won't be able to fill the team in 10 years?
Right.
I mean, it's the dumbest argument I've ever heard. I mean, everybody's salary is going up. Everybody's payroll is going up. But now all of a sudden we're only going to have 3 teams that can afford to build a team? Like, what are we talking about here?
Well,
I don't understand that logic. I don't get that. Like, oh, the Padres have never spent $250 million before, so there's no way they can ever do this in the future. But if the cost of doing business for Jurickson Profar is like $15 million, or how are you going to fill out a roster?
What was that part about projected to have major losses this year? That's something that I haven't heard directly in any, or even indirectly in any way, shape, or form. The club has their highest season ticket commitment ever. At least that's what they say, that they're sold out on season tickets. They've got the highest ticket revenue coming back by definition in the history of the club, because the prices went up again, not as much as they did previous years, but they did go up. Now, the television situation, we know, but isn't that baked in at this point, 3 years in?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things to kind of dissect here. And first of all, Jim Bowden, no disrespect to him, but he's been wrong before about it. And that happens. But many times, including about the Padres. And so, look, this is what he's hearing. He's perfectly entitled to talk about what he's hearing or what he thinks. And that's the whole point of that podcast or whatever he's doing. But I don't know. The money thing is interesting, because on the one hand, you have reports coming out that MLB has record-breaking profits now, $12.1 billion or whatever. Like, MLB is making more money than it ever has in the history of Major League Baseball, which would point to the health of the product, I guess, if that's what you're going with.
Unless it's just 3 teams, I guess.
Yeah, it could be. And the Padres thing is interesting, because depending on who you talk to, they're either like the Cubs GM said, which is we're just breaking even, or the ticket gate money doesn't realize as much money as people think, or the revenues aren't as high as people think, so we're either just breaking even, we're still maybe cleaning up some of the problems of the past. And I do want to point out, because I was asked a question about this a few days ago, and I got a little bit more clarity. Like, when they had to pay that $50 million and then that $100 million eventually in 2023, when they were up against that debt ratio, which ended up being something that they had to figure and fix for 2024, they did that. And for my understanding, they're out of the trouble. They're out of the trouble zone of the debt ratio. So I was asked, well, why can't they just go spend more money? Why can't they go get more credit? Why can't they go spend more debt or do more capital calls? And the answer I was kind of given was, literally, they can do whatever they want. it's their team. They can do whatever they want. But they weren't supposed to kind of do that in the first place because they didn't have the money to really pay for it. So it wouldn't really be smart of them to go out there and ask for a bunch of capital calls, which would just make your owners upset because now they're losing on their investment that they initially made, which they will do capital calls, but not so many, right? And then B, if you go run up the debt again, it's akin to, well, let's go run up the credit card. You're going to get slapped again. Most likely you're going to have to bring it back down. So it's not like you can't do those things. And maybe there would be a time where they say, hey, we're in a good position where we want to go do that right now. It's probably too close to it happening a few years ago. I think MLB would frown upon it like they did then. So some of those things, I think, while they like literally can happen, should they happen is a different story. But I can understand it, again, from the fans' perspective, when you don't have a look into the books, like, and none of us have that. I can understand it from a fan's perspective. And from us sitting right here, you're sold out. You have the third highest fan attendance in all of baseball. You know, the cost of that has gone up. The cost of concessions has gone up. People are really behind the team. They're supporting in various numbers of ways. So what's the problem? And I can understand that as well. And I mean, that's just the answers that we get. And I don't really know how to marry the two much better.
Yeah, that's right. And here's another part of that. And this is the part that I will take to heart more closely, which is that when you are in an ownership dispute, what does that mean by definition? It means that we don't know, and they don't know. The parties involved do not know for sure 2 years from now who's going to be in control of the San Diego Padres.
Yeah.
And because of that, if you don't know 2, 3, 4, 5, if you don't know in that 5 year, that 1 to 5 year window, if you don't know for sure who's in control, where's the money coming from? What's the hierarchy? What's the long-term plan? It's very difficult to take your books and saddle them with further commitments.
Right.
And that's what leads me to Arise, Cease, King.
Yes. And just really quickly on the TV deals, you know, they did get 80% backstopped their first year. So they got 80%. MLB said, we're going to pay you 80% of the money you normally make on your TV deal. So that helped. They were paid by Bally's last year. The reports said something like $78 million. The UT reported that they were told it would be more around like $20 million or $17 million. I don't know what that number is, but they did get help on their finances from the TV contract last year. This year is, I think, a year that you're not really sure if they're getting any extra help from MLB. I think MLB had floated around for a while that the CBT money could go to teams that were under the MLB media umbrella, but I don't know if that's new teams or teams that currently exist. Go back and read Bill Shaken. He writes for the LA Times, but he came down to FanFest to write about this in the context of the Frank McCourt Dodgers era, which he talks about the spending got paralyzed. And Frank McCourt came out and said, we are not going to sell this team. There's no way this team is not going to disappear from us. We're not going to lose this and that. But as time went on and the battle went on, he ended up losing the team and they ended up getting into trouble financially. And they get, so you can't predict really how any of this is going to go.
That is correct. So let's take a quick time out. Still to come in the hour, we're going to replay our Trevor Hoffman interview from FanFest, but I think we can put that in the longer third segment. So let's come back. Let's talk more about some of the things discussed in this clip with Bowden. We've also got John Morosi still to come in our baseball hour here. Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed on 97.3 The Fan. So while you're listening, you can see what you missed and click to listen on demand. If you missed a guest, a feature, or something crazy that happened from earlier, we've got you covered. Download the free Odyssey app, search 97.3 The Fan, and tap earlier today to get started. Andy and Elsten back with you. Still kind of going through that Jim Bowden click through on foul territory. And
Do you believe the Xander stuff?
that's where I wanted to go
Okay.
next. That's where I wanted to go
I
next.
don't.
I don't either.
I can't imagine them doing that.
There's nothing that I would like less. I don't know about nothing. There are very few things I would like a Tatis trade less. There are very few things I would like less.
After this weekend, do not speak that into existence.
Yeah. Than attaching Ethan Salas to Xander Bogaerts in a trade where you get nothing back, and all you have done is grimly cut ties with Bogaerts, released yourself $25 million a year of financial flexibility, quote unquote flexibility, for 9 years, and lost the entire career of Ethan Salas. For what?
The only way I'd like that is if you just think that Ethan Salas is going to be really bad. That would be the only
that's
way.
what I that's where I was going to go with it is they could be trying to move Xander's or another big contract that they have. You would have to, just like he said there, and I will give Jim that, you would have to put him together with someone that another team really, really wants, a big league prospect like Ethan Salas or Leo Dallas DeVries, and then you'd probably have to pay half his contract or something like that. You'd have to pay some of his
You're
contract.
still going to have to pay him something.
Or
But
take something back.
you could bring in some financial flexibility by that, perhaps. The only way I could see that happening is A, well, you'd have to obviously have another team that was willing to take that on. But B, you would have to think that Ethan Salas, you'd have to know somewhere deep down that maybe your belief in one of those prospects is not as high as it once was.
The market changes every year. And 3 off seasons ago, when Xander Bogaerts was signed, the deal seemed ridiculously large. Like, wow, that's a big overpay for Xander Bogaerts. $25 million a year. Now, the 11 years, that's the whole part of it, right? But $25 million a year. Well, Corbin Burns now gets $35 million a year. Garrett Cole gets $35 million a year. Jack Flaherty just signed in Detroit. He makes $20 million this year, right? So if you were to sign Michael King, you're probably signing him around $25 million a year, or maybe you get a little discount if you start earlier along the way. But my point is, if you got rid of Xander Bogaerts, that doesn't mean, well, now look, the whole world's open for us. We can
It's
do
not.
anything. It's one player, not even top of market player, that you could afford if you're reinvesting the money, which in our current circumstance, I don't know that we can necessarily trust the Padres to go dollar for dollar reinvesting the money that they recoup in a trade. So to me, trade one of your top prospects plus Xander to save money is the way to be bad, or at the very best mediocre, for years to come.
Yeah, I don't like this deal. I don't like the idea of this deal either. And he does have a full no trade. I see that in the chat. Now, he can waive that if he chooses, if there is a team that he would feel okay going to. But I personally have a hard time seeing this one happen. I guess I wouldn't be completely shocked if they did something like this. But if they were able to make something like this happen, I would definitely be surprised. But I don't think that this one is going to happen.
Let's logically dissect this for a second. All right, he gets $25 million a year, right? What team in this planet is going to pay a full $25 million per year for the next whatever years? Is there a single
9
team
years.
for the next 9 years? Is there a single team in Major League Baseball that will pay for his entire contract?
Not at value.
No. You're going to have to eat some of that.
Right.
Right.
Or as Craig said, take something else on where you're basically going to, I think best case scenario if you were to trade this guy, half? You offload half of his contract? Is that best case?
Yes.
I would say
think
that's
you would
best
need
case.
to pay half at least.
So you're looking at, what is that, like 13, what is half
Something
25?
like
13 million?
something.
13,
Yeah.
13
We don't do
12.5?
math. Yeah.
12.5?
Sounds right.
All right, so you still have to pay 12.5. So now you're basically paying the Hosmer thing for the next 9 years, right? And you're freeing up $12.5 million. For $12.5 million, I'd rather just pay to have Xander on the team. than to
Yeah,
pay for him
me
to go
too.
away. It's
Exactly.
not like
Me
he's.
too.
It's not like he's worthless. I mean, it's like it's
No.
not. And you're not saving $25 million. Like people just go like, well, you'd save $25 million. No, you're saving $12 million. And the $12 million, as Craig alluded to, you can't even get Jerks and Profar for $12 million a year. I mean,
Correct.
who are you getting? Yeah. So I'd rather just have Xander on the team. And the way these contracts are going, I don't think he's ever going to play up to that contract. I hope he does, even like 3-4 years down the road. But the way these are going right now, I mean, $25 million could be what Jerks, like if Jerks and Profar went on the market, like let's just fast forward 3 or 4 years and it's the same situation with Profar. I mean, I could see Profar getting a deal like this if he went in at this, as it is right now with his age, not future Jerkson, in a couple of years. So like a player like him, like in his 30s, getting a mid-level deal. I mean, this is probably a mid-level deal in about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So why try to like force all of this to save $12 million? It's not going to help. It's not helping you.
I'd like to resubmit for the audience and for the group a different suggestion that I made in terms of Xander Bogaerts, and one that I think actually could be done and wouldn't wreck the team for years to come. And that's my problem for yours. Okay? It's Xander to Boston for Trevor Story. It's Xander to Boston for Trevor Story. And maybe you need to put in X amount of dollars that covers a certain portion of the final 6 years of Xander's deal. But Trevor Story is getting paid $22.5 million this year, $25 next year, $25 in 2027. He is a
club option you will never take.
Right. He is a shortstop. He is the same age. He's 32 years old. He's the same age. He's coming off of injury-riddled seasons. It hasn't worked in Boston, but he's their starting shortstop opening day if nothing changes. So it's not like he's a useless major league player, just like it's not like Xander Bogaerts is a useless major league player, but something that would allow the Padres to be off of that $25 million train in 3 years instead of 9 years. That's the type of thing that I could see. Both Xander would probably only go to Boston, right? And secondly, now I've made a deal that makes sense because they want to get rid of Story. They need to get rid of Story in order to put Xander at short. And then we would need a shortstop, and it would be Trevor Story coming back to the National League West. What if he rediscovers his bat? You've got a 25-homer shortstop. All of a sudden, you feel like you won the trade.
Yeah. I don't know if you'd only go to Boston, but I think he would consider Boston if he was going to waive his no trade. Obviously, the place that he has so much memories with and won 2 World Series with. Different organization, though, now. Differently run than when he was there. But still, I mean, he's got a lot of pride in that organization as well. I still don't like it. I know why you're doing it. And yes, if you were you can free up the financial flexibility after those 3 years. So it does make sense.
I'd rather
keep
that,
Xander.
Though. I don't think Boston would do that. I think you'd have to pay for 3/4 of his contract to balance out the years.
Well, by definition, the first 3 years are a wash.
Right.
So you wouldn't be touching that. So now you're looking at the last 6 years, and that's $150 million.
And you probably split with them.
So maybe you're adding $75 million to. Maybe you are. Yeah. Maybe you are.
I just don't think you're going to. I just think the risk, all the hoops you have to jump through to make this happen. I don't think the reward is enough.
Yeah.
I don't think
compared to maybe just Xander's good again.
Exactly.
I think you just keep Xander.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think the risk reward doesn't make any sense to me. The reward of an additional $12 million. I mean, at that point, I mean, if your entire organization is getting held up by $12 million, you got a lot of other problems on your hands more than just Xander Bogaerts. And even though that contract is really hurting them right now, he hasn't turned himself into a player where it's like, this guy needs to go. He's the worst player in baseball. I mean, if he was like, if he was playing like Anthony Rendon or something like that, all right, fine. Like, find a way to get rid of him, eat some of his money, but he's not. I mean, he just hasn't lived up to the $25 million, and you're not going to get that $25 million off the books. You're only going to get about 12, and that's the best case scenario. I'd rather just keep him. And have him just be a leader and see what he's got. I mean, I'd rather would do that. It's just when you compare the two options, and fans don't understand that. They just think you can just get rid of this guy and you don't have to worry about his money anymore. But that's the best case scenario you're going to get. That doesn't outweigh him being on the team. I think he's more valuable on the team than paying him $12.5 million a year for the next 9 years to go away.
The upside of Xander is really high, and it hasn't clicked completely yet in San Diego. You've seen flashes of it. I totally get that. But the upside of him is very high, and he has been a very good player. He's got to show that again, and he wants to, and hopefully this is the year for him. But by the way, a little piece of news coming out of FanFest that he will be playing shortstop, and Jake Cronenworth will be moving back to second base, and they all found that out, or Xander found that out a month ago, Mike Schultz said. So, coming in, knowing where you're going to be, not going to be asked to move positions your first day of spring training.
Don't mess with him. Let him just go be a pro.
He's fixed that shoulder. That's healed completely, and we've heard how good Manny and Fernando Tatis Jr. feel after having those surgeries. Same with Xander. He had that big injury last year. So, hopeful that it's a different kind of year for him.
I think Adam makes a good comparison. He's not Javi Baez. I think if he was
that's the
Javi
thing.
Baez, I think I would be a little bit more inclined to listen to some of these deals. But then again, nobody would want him if he was Javi Baez. And
Well,
then
and yeah.
you'd be stuck with him anyway.
And if you did the who's going to have the better next 3 years, and you put Xander, Trevor Story, Javi Baez,
I think it's Xander.
I think
I
Bogarts
think it's
wins
Xander,
that
too.
deal.
Oh, yeah,
right? I
100%.
mean, Bogarts wins that survey. Now, I might be one of the few people who thinks there's a chance that Trevor Story comes back and hits
He could,
25, 30
yeah.
home runs in a season. But
Sometimes you need a change of scenery, too.
Yeah, but having said that, there's also a chance that Xander Bogaerts puts up a 5-WAR season this year, and if he does, then all of these discussions look dumb in hindsight. And that, again, just to kind of put a pin on it in the minute and a half left in this segment, that's why I can never get behind. And I've had plenty of smart people say this type of deal, the trade Salas with Bogarts type deal. That's why I can never get behind it, because you have to count on two things in order for yourself to wrap your mind around that trade. One is that Bogarts is an ever declining asset that never returns value. So you're just getting out on a sinkhole before it keeps sinking. And I don't know you can really say that about Xander Bogaerts. Truthfully, one good year, you look like an idiot. And the second is you have to count on Ethan Salas not being a top 8 catcher in baseball in a couple of years.
Right.
And then that's one of the most valuable things that can exist for a team is a catcher that hits, that's good behind the plate, that's affordable, that's young. Like, are
He's
you
a
kidding
unicorn.
me?
We've talked about that with the
Yeah.
catching position. By the way, we had this relatively same conversation last year with Jay Cronenworth. And He
Yes.
started to play up to his contract. I mean,
And
if
he had a
plays,
nice 2-WAR
If he
season,
plays close, it doesn't have to be up to it. He just needs to play close, and it justifies how much he's making, especially with the way the contracts are increasing for everybody in baseball.
That's exactly it. In 4 or 5 years, Braden said it very well. Xander Bogaerts will be looking like a mid-level veteran exemption. $25 million for a mid-level veteran will be just a routine salary in big league baseball. And if you think that's crazy, I mean, it's not. Look where the numbers have gone in the NBA, where, if you are a, third guy off the bench, solid rotation player, you're going to make $25 million a year. 3-4 year contract, and you're just going to get it, and no one's going to blink and go, "Oh my God, you're so overpaid."
You don't even look at other leagues. Just look at baseball. Look at these mid-level pitchers are getting. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Ridiculous.
I mean, this is the rock and the hard spot that the Padres have kind of put themselves in. On the one hand, it's like these are your players, again, we say it all the time, that can get you to the postseason and get you to win a World Series. And on the other hand, these are the players with very big long-term contracts that cost a lot of money that you don't know how they're going to play out, right? In 2, 3, 5 years. That's not just for Xander. That's for all their long-term big contracts, right? So, I mean, it's kind of like how you look at it. Hopefully for the Padres, they can have a year or 2 or 3 where most of those contracts are all trending up, right? Or they're maybe not MVP years. They don't have to be, like Braden said, they don't have to be the best years of their career, but they're close to what they were. And if you can get the majority of them going at the same time, for a little window, like that's when you're really going to be at your best.
When we come back, we got the chance to talk to the Hall of Famer Trevor Hoffman at FanFest. Did you miss that interview? You'll hear it, plus some more trade chatter, John Morosi style. It's the Annie and Elsten Baseball Hour rolling here, 11:34 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Saturday, y'all.
So
It was a fun day.
Yeah.
It was a fun day. Perfect timing for the roller skating jam called Saturdays from De La Soul to pop up. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Robert Half. 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Our recruiting professionals utilize an award-winning AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com/talent today. Okay, let's just start there, and then we'll jump back into more trade chatter and whatnot. But on Saturday, Annie and Braden and I had the chance to be out there at Padres Fan Fest for 2 hours. And within that, the Padres brought along a couple of guests, brought them back to back. So didn't really get the chance to stretch out our legs and go deep dive with either one of these guys. We got about 7 minutes for each one of them, but that makes it perfect for replay on the old Annie and Elsten show. So let's start with the first guy who turned up. Still ravishingly handsome. Post-retirement, still suntanned. Hair still looks exactly right.
Blue eyes are bluing.
The blue steel look is still there for the great Trevor Hoffman. We're so happy to get the opportunity to sit down and chat with Trevor, and we only had a few minutes. And at the end of this, one of his answers really, really stuck out to me. But ready to roll on this? Let's do it. Here's Trevor.
And that applause ain't for us, gang. That applause is for the Hall of Famers. Trevor Hoffman is joining us live in the booth. Trevor, it's always great to see you, my friend.
Greg, Annie, great to be with you guys as well, and along with a lot of fans out here at Section 114. Fan Fest is always awesome.
It's great. It's a good time. There's a great crowd out. It's a beautiful day. It's great.
Well, let's just start kind of right there, right? Anticipation, expectation. Padres have a great year in 2024. You can see from these fans today, everyone's fired to get back on the beam, get things rolling again. Where's your mind at?
I think this is kind of the opening of the door to spring training is when Fan Fest goes on. They get to see all the guys again in uniform to a degree with their jerseys, and they see it's around the corner. They can't wait to get to Peoria. And these guys are focused. They're ready to go. They know there's some unfinished business, and they want to take care of it this year.
We talk about momentum a lot sometimes, right, in baseball. And from game to game, how much, if at all, does it translate from one year to the next year? And how could that show up if it does?
That's a great question. I think when you have a core group of guys, that momentum can stick with you and you can utilize it to your advantage. I think there's times when that momentum goes away a little bit because of an off season and maybe a bad taste in your mouth at how things finished up. But either way, you kind of have to nurture that one way or the other. Recognize every season you should have every bit of anticipation of success and nothing but good things, and set your goals lofty and high and look to achieve them. But it's this time of year that spring brings the abundance of hope. And so we're not quite at spring yet. I know Groundhog Day's tomorrow, but I certainly feel like this year's team is capable of doing some great things as well.
Trevor, last year's bullpen wound up being such a source of strength for the San Diego Padres. Bobby Fastball's obviously locking things down at the end, but then you saw the addition of Adam Scott, the emergence of Morejon, Estrada, just stepping into the limelight. How excited are you for the stable of arms that this group has coming back?
Yeah, no doubt. When you anchor it at the back end, everybody kind of has a tendency to fall into place and line up the way they want. The beginning of the year, bullpen was a little shaky, and it took some guys like an Estrada to kind of get an idea what it looked like to be in the big leagues full time, just coming over to Chicago. So I think the opportunity these guys have had, the innings they've been able to accrue over the last year or so, is only going to help moving forward. They have it in them. They have the ability to do it. And Stephen Kolek's, I remember a 3-inning stint that he had late in the year that really helped give some guys some rest, allowed us to come back and win a ball game that wouldn't happen without him. Those are things that he's going to pull upon this year to be more consistent and not just do it once a month, once a week, but do it every time out.
Yeah, let's talk bullpens a little bit. Bullpens are fascinating, Trevor. And what is something?
Bunch of creatures down there.
A bunch of creatures. It's always an eclectic group, and they have their own little world, right? I mean, you guys have your own little world in the bullpen. What's something that fans, media, whoever, the general public doesn't understand or maybe is misguided a little bit about what a reliever goes through the course of the season, or what goes on in a bullpen?
Yeah, I think more than anything, it's everyone kind of knows they're in the same role. You're not going to go out and have to start a game. You're not prepping for a start, but everyone's on call, and so I think everyone's aware of potentially what inning someone might be called upon. And so you start to pay attention to where the game's at the start to go, okay, Tommy and Ricky and Johnny over here, they kind of need to get ready. So I can't be screwing around as much as I would like to because these guys kind of have to get ready for the game. And likewise, if the innings pass them up where their kind of window is over to a degree, they don't want to like just relax and start having a good time when the rest of the guys might be up. And so it's a dynamic that everyone's feeding off of one another, but also pulling on the same rope.
Trev, I know we don't have a ton of time with you, but I just wanted to ask, I see all these amazing kids out here. Many of them never saw you pitch.
Right.
So a lot of them don't know or maybe they've heard or their mom or dad have told them that you had the best changeup in the world while you were pitching. You had the best changeup in baseball. I'm just curious, today, 2025, who do you think has the best changeup in baseball?
Ooh, yeah, honestly, Robert Suarez has really been working on. I want to see more of Robert throwing his changeup. I want to see Morihone take his changeup to the next level. It's a pitch that I think is timeless. You know, I think we all know about the box. We all know how hard it is to kind of throw it through that garden hose. The umpire, they've tightened their zone. They know exactly where those borderlines are. The hitter's very comfortable with what that strike zone looks like. It's not like, oh, they're giving a little inch or two out there today, or they're working the inside or up. The changeup, kind of that front to back, is always going to be a deceptive pitch that's going to be effective in the big leagues. Guys need to take advantage of that. That's something that they can go good at. It doesn't matter spin rate. It's really trusting a grip and going out and utilizing it in a position that you want to. And so who's got the best changeup in the game right now? I couldn't tell you, but I like where Robert Suarez is at, and I think he needs to implement it a little bit more.
Probably still you if you get out there, right? Take the mound a little.
You know what? I was in minor league camp for fantasy camp, and the minor leaguers were out there. Isaiah Lowe was throwing a bullpen, and they had the track man on him. He threw it. We talked a little bit about grip. He goes, "This feels the worst a ball could ever feel in my hand." I go, "Trust it. Just throw it." He threw it. He wanted to know a number. The number to him was staggering. It was a spin rate of under 1,000. I don't think he'd thrown a changeup that had been anywhere near that. It was like 750. And it to me, I didn't mean crap. It's just a number, right? I watched. I go, "That had a good action." He heard the number and he went, wow. There was like this epiphany of the number and what I saw a sense from a feel standpoint and what he felt. Really kind of the synergy was unique. So
yeah.
It's interesting that the changeup from an analytics standpoint sounded a certain way for him, and I got to see him what it looked like.
And I would encourage everyone to read. AJ Cassavell just did a piece again on how you developed your changeup and how it came off
Don't
of
go play beach volleyball.
beach volleyball game and how the rest is history. Before we let you go, you work as a special advisor for the Padres. Are you still going out to spring training and doing like Trevor time and meeting with pitchers? And can you tell us a little bit more about what you do throughout the season?
That's the idea. You know, honestly, to get around these guys in a more comfortable atmosphere, be approachable, be an opportunity to be accessible, mingle with the fans and interact when games are in the afternoon. There's nothing better than a family to cruise out to Peoria, take a couple games in over the weekend, enjoy the sunny weather, the warmth, and know that baseball is right around the corner.
Trevor Hoffman, always appreciate you, man. I know we got to keep you moving. You got a really busy schedule, but anytime we get a chance to sit
really
down and
appreciate
chat,
being with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Trevor.
Thank you so much. There he is, the Hall of Famer, ladies and gentlemen. As good as he gets.
And there he went, signing autographs, kissing babies, taking pictures, and away he went.
He's the best. He's just awesome. I
love
mean,
Trevor.
you get around him and you get to hear a few stories, and he just, he's so real and authentic, and that's all you could ask for.
So there's times that you remember working in this business and being on the periphery of big league sports, being in the middle of big league sports, what that phrase band of brothers means and what it really means when you're way deep into an organization. I guarantee you that in a different situation, if I asked Trevor Hoffman the same question I asked him, he might have an answer as to who he thinks has the best changeup currently in Major League Baseball. But because that player might not be on the Padres, and Trevor is a Padre from top of his hair to the bottom of his sandals, and he's going to be at spring training working with these dudes, and he's an advisor to the organization, and he is a mentor to the players, he wasn't going to say a single non-Padre name when I asked him that question. What, Robert Suarez, Adrian Morejon, Cease is building a changeup. King has a changeup. Like, yeah, but what about all the other pitchers in baseball? What about their changeups? No, he was going to talk about the Padres and pump up his guys. And I'm not saying that in any way negative. That is what it means when you're in that deep. Like, that's what it means to you. Like, you support your guys because they're your guys. And I actually am always inspired kind of being around that, like understanding. That's why you always hear us say during the season, like, trust me, these guys are on the plane. They believe in themselves. They're betting on themselves. They're backing themselves. They are not going, oh, I'm looking at the Dodgers and Ryan Brazier has a 1.8 ERA. We must be worse than them. Where's our ranking? No, they go, we kick their ass every time. We believe that we're going to kick their ass. And if we go out there and we lose, we believe tomorrow we're going to go out there and we're going to kick their ass because we think the guys that we have in this room are the best guys that we can have. And that's the mentality, Andy, you have to have.
Well, yeah. I wouldn't expect anything else from Trevor. I think that, he's knee deep in looking at the guys on the team and supporting them and helping any way that he can. And the Trevor time thing that I was referring to at the end of the interview was something that he does at spring training when he sits down with relievers and goes over things and they get to ask him questions. I know he did it a few years ago. I'm not sure if he still does it, but he's got his hands in the organization, just kind of being an assistant, working to support these guys however possible, however he can. And how cool it is if you're out at spring training because he'll be like at the end of the day, he'll be outside, like just kind of hanging out with people and with players and media, whoever. And the ability to go up to him and talk to him and just have a conversation at any point for a lot of these pitchers or a lot of these players is second to none. I mean, that's a priceless thing. So really, really cool to have him on with our show and just really cool to have him still around and part of the organization.
Yeah, you're talking to a Hall of Famer,
Yeah.
It's just pretty dang cool to know that we've had the chance to watch Trevor Hoffman from being a young man acquired via trade, to someone, if we had longer time, I wanted to ask him because he had a major, it wasn't Tommy John, but he had a major shoulder procedure in his career in the early 2000s that cost him almost an entire season, that cost him miles off of his fastball, that forced him to reevaluate physically, tactically, who he was as a pitcher in big league baseball and kind of what he might have said to Joe Musgrove or might say to Joe Musgrove, being at a similar age to where Joe was having this procedure this year, Tommy John surgery.
Yeah. I mean, good question. I'm sure the two of them talk. And if you have a minute to go back, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard the story of Trevor's changeup, but AJ Cassavell recently did a piece on it and how he hurt himself playing beach volleyball. He lost velocity and he developed the changeup out of it. And the rest is history for him. And, as a player, that's what you got to do. You meet so many players through the course of the years that they have some kind of surgery or they get some kind of injury and it changes either their velocity or their mechanics or the feel of their arm. That's why you see so many players hesitant to have surgery because they've heard it from other guys, like how it completely changes their release or changes the feel of their mechanics. But you adapt, and that's what Trevor did, and it ended up being something that was, really good for his career. And I think that that's what the good ones do. They figure out ways to adapt and ways to still outsmart the hitters.
And he did, and he kept it going, and that arm speed never changed, whether it was the fastball, whether it was the changeup, the windup looked the same, the release looked the same, and that's how year after year after year you could see Trevor Hoffman be successful. But in particular, at the second stage of his career, we would always look and watch, is that a rookie up? Is that a player new to the National League that's up at the plate? Because those rookies stood no chance against Trevor. Veteran might know a couple of little ticks, a couple things. They might have strategies. They might be sitting on things on certain counts. Rookies would go up there and go, it's a fast. Oh, no, it's not. It's a fast. Oh, no, it's not. Just swing over the top of 3 straight changeups.
Yeah, and I love keeping it real in the chat. Says you got to reinvent yourself constantly, and that's exactly what it is. It's a good point.
Good stuff from Trevor Hoffman. If you missed our chat with Jackson Merrill, we'll play that for you coming up in the next hour. But we got a very busy 12 o'clock sports fix to get to. And just it is our nature, other than just kind of alluding to it, we still haven't really talked or gotten into the biggest story in the sports world today, which is the trade that made everyone lose their minds. I mean, heck, there was a gigantic trade in the NBA yesterday. Sent Zach LaVine to Sacramento, sent De'Aaron Fox to team up with Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio. Like, things are happening. The deadline's coming up on Thursday. But Luka to the Lakers, are you kidding me? No one saw that coming. Not even Luka, not even AD, and not even LeBron, who got a text while he was out at dinner with his family. Oh, by the way, your whole team has changed, and your dear friend and Clutch Sports ally, Anthony Davis.
He gone.
He's a Maverick now. Luke is coming. He'd like the ball, by the way. You don't mind, do you? 12 o'clock Sports Fix. All this and plenty more in our next hour on Annie and Elsten. Happy Monday, everybody. Lunch hour has arrived, and while you rip that little plastic zip tie off of your salad, we prepare your sports fix for Monday, February 3rd, 2025. It's the Annie and Elsten Show on 97.3 The Fan. Annie Halbern, Craig Elsten, Braden Soprenet here with you in our Odyssey studios for 2 more hours. At the midpoint of the show, we bring you all the news that's fit to speak, beginning with Annie's baseball report, including Jack Flaherty going back.
Yes, Jack Flaherty is returning to Detroit per ESPN's Jeff Passan. The right-hander signed a 2-year deal with the Tigers worth $35 million in guaranteed money. It's a front-loaded deal, pays Flaherty $25 million in 2025, and he can opt out of the second year of the contract this fall to re-enter free agency, or he'll earn at least $10 million in 2026 and can unlock an additional $10 million in incentive bonuses if he makes 15 starts this season. Veteran righty Carlos Carrasco is signed with the Yankees on a minor league deal. Carrasco, 38 years old in March, spent the 2024 season with the Guardians after returning to Cleveland on a minor league pact last offseason. The Tampa Bay Rays are acquiring right-hander Alex Faedo from the Detroit Tigers for minor league catcher Anderson Delgado and cash. Faedo, I hope I'm saying that right.
I think it's Faedo.
Faedo?
Faedo.
Faedo?
Paella. Faedo likes paella.
Faedo was a solid contributor for Detroit last season, but was DFA'd after the Tigers signed Tommy Kahnle. The Mariners announced that they have acquired right-hander Casey Legumina from the Reds. Cincinnati, who designated, I hope it's also Legumina, for assignment last week when they signed Austin Hayes, receives cash considerations in return. The M's have designated left-hander Jonathan Diaz for assignment in a corresponding move. Former MLB Commissioner Fay Vincent passed away yesterday due to complications of bladder cancer, according to reports. He was 86 years old. Vincent served as the 8th commissioner of Major League Baseball from 1989 to 1992. And at FanFest, Mike Schilt confirmed that Xander Bogaerts will play shortstop this season as he returns to that position. Jake Cronenworth will move to second base, and also Adrian Morejon will remain in the bullpen, according to Schilt. There had been rumors he might make the move to the rotation, but Schilt is saying he will stay in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Interessante.
Makes sense. I mean, why mess with stuff? Who's going to be the left-hander anyways? Is Yuki going to step up like that? Nah, Morejon's been good. They didn't want to push his innings too hard. Great baseball report. Here's Braden now.
All right, got NFL, college, football, and basketball. Even some local college news to report. Start in the National Football League, where star defensive end Myles Garrett, NFL's reigning Defensive Player of the Year, has requested a trade from the Browns, he announced in a statement Monday. While I've loved calling this city my home, my desire to win and compete on the biggest stages won't allow me to be complacent. The goal is never to go from Cleveland to Canton. It has always been to compete for and win a Super Bowl, Garrett said in a statement. Speculation over Garrett's future in Cleveland had ramped up in recent months after he made comments about wanting to know the team's offseason plans following a 3-14 season before further committing to the organization. 29-year-old has 2 years remaining on the record-breaking 5-year, $125 million contract extension he signed in 2020, but no more guaranteed salary. Only a matter of time, I thought, with Myles Garrett. I mean, that guy's played there enough amount of time.
As long as he doesn't finish this up with, for all my desire of a championship, I need to be traded to Dallas.
Right.
That point, I'm done with you.
That's right.
But right now, I'm on your side, Mr. Garrett.
The Lakers and the Dodgers going to try to acquire his services?
The Dodgers are thinking about it.
Thinking about adding him. I had the Pro Bowl games this weekend. The past 3 Pro Bowl games have made one thing unmistakably clear. The NFC has a knack for flag football.
Yeah.
1 week before the AFC's Kansas City Chiefs attempt a Super Bowl three-peat, the NFC completed a three-peat of its own in the 2025 Pro Bowl games, topping the AFC 76-63.
70 what?
76-63 after the completion of all events, including a 56-50 win in the flag football competition.
Oh, okay.
So what they did yesterday, I thought it was very interesting. I didn't watch most of it. They did games on Thursday, some Pro Bowl games on Thursday, and then they counted they had a score for that. And then throughout yesterday, they played a quarter and then did another game. So, they played a quarter of the flag football game and then did, the punt challenge or whatever. And so, all those little individual challenges and skills competitions had scores that would add to your flag football score.
Okay.
To try to keep it moving instead of just watching flag football for like 2 straight hours. So it was interesting. You got to see a lot of players play different positions that you would never get to see. It seemed like the kids that were there had a good time and watched it. I watched it. I don't know if I'd ever watched flag football more than just one time. You get to see a lot of the guys' personalities. Biggest takeaway for me is Orlando gets to host all these events because they built a stadium that's big enough to host big events.
Right.
Why can't that be us? You can't tell me Orlando Stadium is some state-of-the-art great facility. They host multiple college football events every year. They don't have a college football team in town. UCF, they don't play there. They host NFL events. They host a bunch of different things. If you build it, they will come. But I will digress on those comments. Other NFL news, Raiders are hiring University of Washington offensive coordinator Brendan Carroll as their offensive line coach, reuniting him with his father and new Raiders coach Pete Carroll. Washington head football coach Jed Fish confirmed the news Monday, saying he was super excited for BC and for Pete. Washington quarterbacks coach Jimmy Daughtry is being promoted to offensive coordinator, Fish said. Michael Switzer will serve as the team's offensive line coach, which Brendan Carroll also oversaw. So, Washington loses their defensive coordinator, Bill Belichick's son. He goes to North Carolina to take the exact same job to work with his dad. And now Brendan Carroll, who was their offensive coordinator, son of Pete Carroll, is leaving to be the offensive line coach of the Raiders to work with his dad. Not going to be the offensive coordinator, though, because Chip Kelly got $6 million to be the offensive coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders. Not a bad staff they're putting together down there in Vegas. Pete Carroll at the top. Chip Kelly did a phenomenal job as the OC at Ohio State to win a national championship, so maybe they are turning things around.
Under Tom.
In Las Vegas under Tom. Feel-good story in college football over the weekend. Senior Bowl. TCU wide receiver Jack Beck was selected MVP for the Senior Bowl on Saturday, catching the winning touchdown pass a month after his brother died in the pickup truck attack in New Orleans. On 4th and goal, late in the final quarter, Beck caught a 2-yard touchdown pass from Memphis quarterback Seth Hennigan to give the American team a 22-19 win over the national team in Mobile, Alabama. Beck's older brother, Tiger, was a former All-Ivy League kick returner for Princeton and was among those killed in the terror attack in New Orleans' French Quarter District on New Year's Day. Beck wore his brother's number 7 during Saturday's game, and the clinching touchdown came with 7 seconds remaining. Quote, "Man, it's simple. My brother has some wings on me," Beck told NFL Network. "He gave them to me. He let that all take place. My Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, Tiger, nothing else but them. They're the reason I did what I did today. I attribute it all to them." Beck had 62 catches for 1,034 yards and 9 touchdowns last season for TCU. Of course, the Memphis mascot, the Tigers. The quarterback played for the Memphis Tigers, who threw the pass to Jack Beck to end the game. So a cool little feel-good story, and good for him and his family. He was definitely emotional after the Senior Bowl. Moved up a lot in the draft rankings, but it was cool to see him be able to represent his brother like that.
Great story.
Who died as a hero. There's video of him saving a young woman's life on the security cameras during that deal. So very emotional day for a lot of people in the Beck family. As a TCU alumni, super proud of the way he was able to do that. On to college basketball, where a gambling ring that's currently under federal investigation for its role in 2 NBA betting cases also was involved in unusual wagering activity on at least 3 men's college basketball programs this season.
Do tell.
Sources told ESPN on Monday. Sportsbook accounts connected to the gambling ring bet against North Carolina A&T, Mississippi Valley State, and Eastern Michigan in games this season, sources said. Some of the same accounts also placed large wagers on prop bets involving former Toronto Raptors player Jonte Porter in 2 games during the 2023-2024 NBA season, and veteran guard Terry Rozier in 2023 when he was with the Charlotte Hornets. Porter has admitted to manipulating his performance during the games for gambling purposes. Rozier has declined to comment on a reported investigation into unusual betting on his performance in the select game. The sportsbook accounts linked to the gambling ring also wagered on a Temple game flagged for suspicious betting last March. Sources familiar with the ongoing investigations say the ring targeted additional college basketball programs over the last 2 seasons. North Carolina A&T and Mississippi Valley State did not respond to the request for comment regarding the betting case. North Carolina A&T Athletic Director Earl Hilton did tell ESPN in an email that the recent suspension of 3 basketball players was for a violation of, quote, of well-established team rules, but declined further comment, citing privacy laws. I'm sure that's just the tip of the iceberg with that. Point Loma Nazarene, the only baseball team in action this weekend in San Diego, wanted a walk-off on Friday afternoon. 3-2 winner in 10 innings over Chico State. Lost a doubleheader on Saturday in a sweep, but start the season 1-3. Baseball, or 1-2. Sorry, baseball is underway in America's finest city. That's it for the college and NFL. Here's Craig
with your voluminous local sports report. San Diego FC, the newest team in Major League Soccer, played closed-door scrimmages this past weekend against Sacramento Republic and SDSU. And the Chrome Dragons posted, and I'm calling them the Chrome Dragons, posted 3 goal clips on Twitter, so I'm guessing they scored 3 goals this weekend. Can you believe it's 3 weekends away? Their first match at LA Galaxy.
Wow.
It's 3 Sundays away. It's that close, gang.
Mm-hmm.
MLS season almost here. I feel like it's going to catch a lot of people by surprise when 3 Sundays from now comes and you see our team literally running around at Dignity Health Sports Park where Landon Donovan's statue is, taking on the defending MLS champion Galaxy. That is coming up. San Diego Wave FC announced assistant coaching additions under new head coach Jonas Eidevall, who joined us on the program on Friday. The former head coach of Angel City FC, Becky Tweed, is now top assistant under Eidevall. Eidevall also has selected Norwegian coach Jack Jensen and Swedish goalkeeping coach Kenneth Mattsson to add to his staff. The San Diego Gulls had some really cool Bill Walton-inspired jerseys on Friday. On ice, same old story. They lost to Toronto 3-1. Gulls have lost 5 out of 6. They host Coachella Valley on Friday at Pechanga Arena. Bad starts sunk 2 of our local squads over the weekend. The San Diego Seals stumbled out of the gate against Saskatchewan on Saturday night, falling behind 7-0 at halftime. Wound up losing 12-8. Apparently multiple major penalties were a part of that one. Woodsy was griping to me during a commercial break earlier this morning.
Woodsy Daily Gripes?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, they're just during commercial breaks, as it turns out. That's where the gripes,
I still think
where the gripes are located.
Even if we have to record it, I think every host and producer should go do one Daily Gripes segment with Scrapey.
I think that'd be fun.
I think so too.
Hilarious.
I'm all for it. I did drop in a highlight here coming up in a second, Braden, in my little rundown spot there on the rundown. So that was the story for the Seals. Seals, rough. 2 games under 500 now. Never had a year where they've had a losing record yet. So hopefully this isn't that year. Yesterday in Grand Rapids, San Diego Mojo, man, they were behind 11-2 in the first set before you could blink. They just came out and they got stomped early. Did rally, stronger performances as the match continued. Nonetheless, Mojo fell in straight sets to Grand Rapids' rise. I found that if you're watching a YouTube match after it's all done, the nature of sets being what they are, you can just kind of click ahead and go like, oh, well, how did this set start? Oh, well, let's see how it goes. So Mojo actually had the lead in the second set. They rallied in the third set. They were close. It wasn't a complete wipeout, but they did lose in straight sets. But for the San Diego Sockers, good times just keep on rolling.
Let the good times roll.
Last night at Front Wave Arena, the Sockers and the Tacoma Stars were tied 3-3. And the match went to golden goal overtime, and then this happened.
Here comes Luis. Morales charging. Childs scoring! The Sockers win it in overtime! Who did it? The captain, the all-time goals leader, the pride of Poway, Craig Childs!
He did it.
North
Craig
County.
Childs.
Part of North County, probably.
North County? Yeah.
That's right.
Well,
Stop
despite
stereotyping Poway.
Yeah, just no matter where you put Poway, you can put Craig Childs in the Poway Titans Hall of Fame because he's there already. And you can put the Sockers in the win column 4-3. Sockers have won 10 in a row.
Congrats.
That seems good to
Yes.
me. They continue on now for a 3-match road trip. They travel to take on Kansas City, one of the Cup favorites this year, along with St. Louis, back-to-back matches this weekend. And congratulations to Rory McIlroy, who won the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am with a final round 66. McIlroy is only the fourth golfer since 1985 to win at least one PGA Tour event 8 straight seasons. And he knocked it out right quick this year by taking down Pebble Beach. Meanwhile, in the NBA, you might have heard Luka Doncic got traded to the Lakers for Anthony Davis. Also, a giant 3-team deal moves De'Aaron Fox, the all-star point guard of Sacramento, over to San Antonio, where he will be teammates with Victor Wembanyama. And Zach LaVine, former UCLA guard, who's been in Chicago and an all-star with the Bulls, he goes to Sacramento. And Chicago got like flotsam and jetsam coming back, some draft picks and some stuff. But not many people liking the Bulls side of the trade, but 2 teams did pretty well.
Nobody liked the Utah side of that Lakers Mavs trade.
It was just
either.
like, hey, here's a couple second-round picks, Danny Ainge. Hope you enjoyed Jalen Hood-Scafino. And there's your 12 o'clock sports fix. We're going to
Got
go right
trolled
here.
by Duolingo.
Check this out, Annie. So the Lakers put up their number 77 has arrived, new wallpapers for LA's newest star. And my favorite language app, Duolingo, that I use every day, then quote tweets it, puts the eyeball emoji at Dallas Mavs, and puts up the graphic you get during the lesson. Let's review your mistakes. As we're looking at Luka Doncic's
Even
Lakers wallpaper.
Duolingo is trolling.
Yeah. When you've
man.
lost Duolingo, Mavs, you've lost the room. Let's come back and talk about it. Let's talk a little bit about Luka. And we've still got our Jackson Merrill interview replay before the show is out. We've got Anybody Knows as well. So stay right here, friends. Annie and Elsten on a roll as well. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. California sports fans, Craig Elsten here with good news for you. Underdog's available to play here in the Golden State. The best app for your big game party. It's actually on your phone, and it's called Underdog. It's the place you can cash in on all your takes during the big game, which players are going to go off, which ones are going to stay cold. You can make your entries in just a few taps. Playing Pick'em on Underdog is so easy. They've got every team, league, player stat that you can possibly think of. All you need to do is select somewhere between 2 and 8 different players. You can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on their stats. And there's new games coming up all the time. Just yesterday, I was checking out on Underdog the new Streaks game, where you start off by picking 2 players, and then you have the choice to go player by player and try and get to an 11-win streak or cash out at any time along the way. Super fun, where you can turn $5 into $5,000, and you can do it just by getting on a roll on Underdog. It's the best place to play Pick'em. Download the app, sign up with promo code Craig. That's my name, CRAIG, and deposit now. You can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code Craig. Must be 18 plus, present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Don't forget about the Slam Dunk in Vegas National Contest, your chance at the ultimate trip to Las Vegas. All you have to do is download the Odyssey app, log in, and listen to 97.3 The Fan for at least 1 hour to earn your daily entry into this national contest. The grand prize, travel and accommodations for a winner and 3 guests to Circa Resort and Casino, Las Vegas's premium sports viewing destination, where you can watch the biggest March Hoops party at Stadium Swim, plus $20,000 cash. All you got to do, download the Odyssey app, log in, listen to our station, set yourself a little timer on your watch or your phone or whatever. Make sure it's at least an hour. Don't do 58 minutes. That's the worst thing you could do.
Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, finish the hour. Go an hour 5 just to be safe, you know? And then you get that daily entry each and every day. All right. We've got Anybody Knows coming up in our next segment, our first silly game of the week. So stay tuned for that. I believe we're on to a Motley Crue grand prize drawing.
Yeah, I think
now.
we are. Let me update the thing.
Outstanding. Looking forward to that. So from Scorpions to Motley Crue.
Oh.
If you are old hair metal, Vegas has a home for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you 65 plus and you've been in a giant hair metal band?
You have a residency.
Please
waiting
establish residency.
I love it.
So Motley Crue is the next for that. And we'll have that coming up shortly. As such, because I feel like we need to dive into Luca, let's play Jackson in the 1 o'clock hour when we're tired anyway. Just makes more sense. We'll play it in the second segment of the 1 o'clock hour, and we look forward to that. So Saturday night, the Luca news drops, and it's one of these, where were you when? You know, it's one of those moments. It really felt like it. And everybody had the same reaction, which was, Shams Charania's Twitter got hacked.
That's literally what my buddy said.
Everybody
there's
said
no
it.
So
way.
shocking.
I mean, I've watched 3 or 4 NBA podcasts in the last 24 hours, and every single person said the same thing. They saw the tweet, they went, oh, Shams got hacked. Then they made the second point of this guy's not even good. He didn't even have any first-round picks or pick swaps in the deal. This is so obviously fake. And then Shams comes 3 minutes later with, no, it's real. I'm not hacked. This is a real thing that happened.
Yeah. I mean, it took all of social media. It took, even if you weren't a basketball fan, you were trying to figure out what was going on and why everyone was freaking out and comparing it to baseball terms, or what is this like if this happened in baseball? And I mean, it was shocking. The whole thing was shocking.
I was trying to think about trade, because trades like this just don't happen. Trades like this do not happen anymore in any sport, but especially in the Players' League that is the NBA. If a superstar the level of Luka Doncic, who, depending on who you talk to, is either the 3rd or the 4th best player in the world today, those players only get traded when they want to be traded. Sure. Mm-hmm. When they say, I'm going to move, and if you don't trade me, I'm going to be out of here in a couple of years. There was no indication that this was the case with Luka Doncic. He had the ability to sign a $340 million 5-year Supermax contract extension with only Dallas at the end of this season. All the reporting is that Luka fully intended to sign that deal, and as such, fully intended to stay in Dallas. And there was no rumor that he was going to screw the Mavs over by signing the deal and then demanding a trade, a month or two later and putting Dallas in a really tough situation. Mm-hmm. No, this was general manager of the Mavericks, Nico Harrison, essentially on his own, according to himself, said he didn't even consult with his head coach, Jason Kidd, says he knows the kind of players Jay Kidd likes, so he didn't have to consult with him because he knew he'd love this deal.
Yeah.
And he only reached out to the GM of the Lakers, Rob Pelinka. One team, one set of phone calls, about 2 weeks of negotiation, and Luka moves, along with a couple of contracts, Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris. They're also coming to L.A. Kleber will be in the rotation once he gets healthy. Max Christie, who's a good third-year player for the Lakers. He's been in their starting lineup, along with Anthony Davis, 1 first-round draft pick in 2029. And that's it, going to Dallas. Now, Utah gets to facilitate it, move money around. They get Jalen Hood-Schifino. They get a couple second-round draft picks. Who cares? They're just literally the vulture, picking a little bit off the bones along the way. But I was trying to think of, what trades this reminds me of from my lifetime. Mm-hmm. And I thought of 3. And the first one that I think is maybe the most comparable is when the Dodgers traded Mike Piazza to Florida. Because Piazza was at a similar stage in his career as to Luka. He was 5-6 years into his career. He had been all-star. He had been all MLB, right? He had started the all-star game, rising star, future Hall of Fame player. Mm-hmm. And it was why would the Dodgers... Yeah, the Dodgers got Gary Sheffield back in that deal. They got Bobby Bonilla from the Marlins, and the Marlins later flipped him to New York a few weeks later to the Mets. But people just kept asking, how do the Dodgers how do they become a better team trading a guy in his early 20s who's a Hall of Famer at a critical position for anything? Like, what could ever justify moving a Mike Piazza? The other one I thought of a little closer to home, Robbie Alomar. Now, Robbie Alomar he wasn't 4 straight years All-Star team or 4 straight years All-MLB, the way Luka is 5 straight years first team All-NBA. But Alomar at that young age, and it was like, hey, we got back Fred McGriff, we got back Tony Fernandez, we got back real talent. That to me is the equivalent of Dallas going, hey, we got Anthony Davis, we got Max Christie, we're a good team this year. Yeah, but who got the best player? Who got the generational talent? That's Robbie Alomar, and he's headed to Toronto. And in this case, that's Luka. He's coming to L.A.
Yeah, seemed very suspicious and weird why the Mavericks would make this move when you've got such a great player like Luka on your team and you can build around him and he's young. But I've seen theories, the Supermax and different kind of things floating around. But this is one that, again, I think a lot of people continue to scratch their heads over and probably will have a lot of repercussions for years to come.
Now, if the idea was, from Dallas's perspective, that they want to try and win this year, Luka's been out for an extended period of time. He's been out since Christmas with a calf strain. He's supposed to be back soon, but obviously he hasn't been back. The Mavericks are doing okay. They're in a play-in spot right now. They were the 8th seed coming into this weekend, but Kyrie's played well. P.J. Washington's played well. Derek Lively's coming back. He'll play well. So the Dallas idea is that they're going to win right away. That AD is going to come in and he's going to lock down the defense, and AD being able to play power forward instead of center because they've got Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. That's going to give AD the chance to even be a better version of himself because he's not guarding centers all the time. They think they've put themselves in a good spot for at least now in the short term in Dallas. And the only way I could even, I can't, honestly, I've tried. I can't justify this in any way, shape, or form. I can't. But the only thing I was thinking of was like, okay, Nico Harrison specifically wants to trade for an NBA star right now. And there are a lot of stars you just can't trade for. And Anthony Davis was someone that you could make a trade to get. But again, we're talking about moving a guy that's 25, that has accomplished more in his first 7 years in the league than just about anybody in the history of the league at this age, at this time. And you're giving him to the Lakers.
Yeah.
The Lakers, who are just about to stare 6 years of at best, mediocrity, at probably more likely horrible for half of a decade, sitting on Bronny's future and 34-year-old Anthony Davis and nothing else around him. All of a sudden, boop, franchise reset for the next decade. Now, Luka could leave after 2 years. He could walk. Is he going to walk from L.A.? Are you kidding me? He ain't walking from L.A. They're going to give him everything. And every company in L.A., Hollywood, all sorts of opportunities will be finding their way to Luka Doncic's door to make sure he stays somewhere in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, I would
for the next
imagine
decade.
so, yeah.
So this is what I was thinking about. I grew up in Long Beach. I've shed most of my childhood ties. But one team that I've always held on to is the Lakers. It's always been one of my teams. I mean, the Lakers they're one of my teams. And if we had an NBA team here in San Diego, it would be a different story.
Yeah.
But we don't, and I've been a lifelong Lakers fan. And occasionally I've kind of like audited myself as to why am I staying? I swear off the Dodgers. I ignore the Rams. The Chargers, I completely ignore the Chargers. I have a general disdain for most Los Angeles teams, but why do I still love the Lakers? And it occurred to me, I'm a fan of a lot of teams. Soccer's accepted. Soccer's always win. But I'm a fan of a lot of teams that have a lot of hard luck along the way. I mean, being a Padre fan is hard. We have no idea in my lifetime if they're going to win or appear in a World Series. Right. But as a Lakers fan, and listen, I've never been a rich guy. I grew up in a middle-class home, the son of 2 teachers. You know, we got to take some vacations in the summer, but I've never lived a life of luxury. I've never known what it felt like to be the ultra-rich, the ultra-privileged, to know that no matter what happens in your life, you're going to fall upwards, that if you screw up, somehow you're going to walk into a field of gold. And it's just going to be, and no matter what you do, every 3-4 years, something great just happens to you. And all of the consequences of the bad decisions you make just float off the side of your back because you're incredibly rich and privileged. I'll never experience that in my lifetime. I know that, unless I win the lottery or something. But as a Lakers fan, I get to touch it. You know, I get to come close and be like, oh, wait, I thought we were going to be terrible. Oh, we get Luka now. I guess we get Luka now. So never mind. Sorry. Sucks to be the rest of you guys.
I mean, that's the one thing. If you're a Lakers fan, like, how can you complain right now? I mean, yeah, you lose AD, but AD's older and injury riddled, and I mean, he's a beast. But still, you're getting Luka back. So I still don't get it for the Mavericks, but hey,
nobody does.
I mean, set their franchise back so many years.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Mavericks fans that I know too. They're like, even if they win this year, I don't care.
Right.
I've just completely. But you have to put the comparison as a Padres fan. I mean, Tatis is 25.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
What if they traded Tatis for Trout?
What if, but even so, they traded Luka to like a marquee franchise. That's like trading Tatis to the Yankees for some aging veteran they have, like a Giancarlo Stanton or something like that.
Oh my God! Right. Well, we got Stanton.
Yeah. Right. We got Stanton.
Hey, chicks dig the long ball. We've got some surefire power in Giancarlo Stanton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or maybe Aaron Judge has like 2 years of being hurt again, and like he can't make it through a season, and and then they make the trade superstar for superstar. They get the young piece, and the Padres get the old piece. I mean, I've seen it in the because I got a lot of friends in Dallas. I mean, they're very upset about this. I mean, think about all the kids in San Diego wearing Tatis jerseys. If they were just to up and trade him one day, I mean, people would be like, "What are we doing?" Like, seriously, I mean, it's the business side of things too that I think the Padres have done a great job in understanding what it means to have these players on their team for a long period of time. But it's more than just the on-court performance. I don't understand what they were doing. They are going to get themselves fired, and it's not going to end well for the Mavericks. And then they go out, and I know they're like parts are moving all over the place, but they give up 91 in the first half to Cleveland. And I know Cleveland's one of the better teams in the NBA, but like they got blown out. And you know what? Most people in Dallas were rooting for it. And that's a sad sign right now for the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, they showed up. Here's how well the players on the Mavericks responded. They gave up 50 points in the first quarter. 50! You know how hard it is to score 50 points in a quarter if no one was defending you? Just the act of getting down the floor and getting the shots up in time. 50 points in a quarter. Now, I'm not defending the Mavericks, but they did start people named Olivier Maxence Prosper, Kyler Kelly, and Dante Exum in that game, and they sat Gafford and P.J. Washington, and of course they didn't have, and Kyrie was sick, and Derek Lively was out. So they played like a scrub lineup against Cleveland.
Kyrie was sick for a lot of reasons.
Kyrie was very sick.
It's like I'm not feeling well today.
Sick and tired.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired, man.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I think that people have taken away in the NBA parlance is trading Luka. Ridiculous. Trading Luka because you think he's going to continue to be in poor condition and he's going to age really, really poorly, and you think his supermax is going to just really weigh down the franchise. Okay, it's a hot take, but you know him better than anyone, so I guess if you're a franchise and you really think that, then maybe you have to trade Luka. But you don't just call the Lakers.
Yeah, you put it out there and try to get your best deal possible. They could have got so many better deals.
It's so not the same comparison, but it's like Peter Bendix only dealing a rise with
Yeah,
Padres. Like
right.
it's not the same comparison at all. But he only called one team, or they only talked to one team. He didn't shop them around, according to several people within the Marlins organization. And so same thing. How could you not shop this guy around?
Yeah. Mikal Bridges is a very good NBA forward. He's maybe a top 50 player in the league. And when the Knicks traded for him, they gave up 5 first-round draft picks. Rudy Gobert is a top 6 center in the NBA, but he's got deep limitations in addition to the deep strengths in his game. And when Minnesota acquired him, they gave up 4 first-round draft picks and multiple swaps. And the Lakers gave up AD, who last year was the first year in 5 that he stayed healthy. And they got Luka. It just... The world ain't fair.
Yeah.
The world ain't fair. And again, as a Lakers fan, this is the one time in my life where I'm like, I guess everything just comes up Millhouse. If you're a Lakers fan, if things are bad, just stick around. A new superstar is coming in 4 to 5 years, either way. All right, we got to take a time out. When we come back, it's time to play Anybody Knows, the game of ridiculously easy trivia. And it's time to kick off a new month of exciting silly games where our end of the month drawing is set. It is a brand new Las Vegas residency for Motley Crue at Dolby Live at Park MGM March 28th to April 19th. If you win, you're qualified for a chance to get a trip to Vegas to see the show live, including 2 tickets to Motley Crue plus a hotel stay at Park MGM, and get your tickets to Motley Crue, the Las Vegas residency at Dolby Live at Park MGM now at Ticketmaster.com. Phone lines are open, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Give us a call during the break. We come back and we play Anybody Knows next on The Fan. Hey, don't forget, coming up, we're going to be announcing at the top of the hour today's biggest fan. Listen at 1 o'clock. And if you hear your name, call in 10 minutes for a chance to qualify for a night in our Odyssey Suite at a future Padres game. You can register for future editions of 97.3's The Biggest Fan by going to 973thefansd.com/biggest fan and potentially get your name called in a future week. Good luck. But right now, different contest. It is time for silly games. Today, we're playing for a chance to qualify for a trip to Vegas to see Motley Crue live. 2 tickets to the show, hotel stay at Park MGM. We're playing the game of easy trivia known as Anybody Knows. And today, we've got a first-time competitor. It's Sean in Imperial Beach. Hi, Sean. Welcome to Silly Games.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
The pleasure is ours. Before we play and tell you all about the game, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm in San Diego. I'm in the Navy, and
Nice.
I'm from the Bay Area. My wife's from Washington State, but we love it down here.
Outstanding. Welcome to America's finest city. Thank you for your service to our country, and welcome to the game. Here's how it's played, Sean. It's based on a game that you could buy at Barnes & Nobles or at any bookstore called Everybody Knows. But because you're playing Annie Heilbrunn, it's called Anybody Knows. And here's how it works. Braden Suprenant is our quiz master. He's got one of the cards from the box. It's got 10 trivia questions. We're going to give you about 60 seconds to answer as many of those trivia questions as you can. Then Annie, who's sitting outside and can't hear you, is going to come back in, get the same 10-question survey. And if you tie or beat her, you'll be qualified for the end of the month drawing. Now, the catch here, Sean, is that these are easy questions. So don't try and outthink yourself. This is stuff from grade school. This is straightforward stuff. And usually when people get it wrong, it's because they trip themselves up. So kind of clear the mind. If you get 10 out of 10, you're an automatic winner. And let's see how you do. I wish you luck as we turn things over to Braden. I'll be keeping score for you over here on the whiteboard.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, Sean. 1 minute on the clock. We'll start after I ask you question number 1. Jerry Lewis and Eddie Murphy played this same movie character. The Nutty what?
Professor.
Nutty Professor is correct. If your lips are sealed, what are you doing?
Keeping quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it a secret.
Yeah. Keep him quiet. Yeah.
What is the suffix in the word thickness?
Pass.
Athletes from the University of Notre Dame are called what?
Fighting Irish.
Fighting Irish.
We would have accepted Golden Domers.
Golden Domers. This color cat is thought to be unlucky by those who are superstitious.
Black.
Black cat.
4 out of 5.
Muscles after a workout can hurt and be this for a day or so.
Thor.
The car's turn indicator is a what?
Blinker.
Blinker. This small case on a necklace can hold pictures or tiny items.
A locket.
Locket. An inquiry or something asked is a what?
Question.
Thin,
Question?
dark brown cookie traditionally constructed into a house with candy decorations.
Gingerbread.
Back to number 3 for a perfect one. Let's go.
What is the suffix in the word thickness?
Thick.
Ness.
Ness would be the suffix.
Ness.
Thick is the word.
All right. Still,
good
9 out
outing,
of 10 is
though.
really good. It takes perfection to beat you. Let's see. As we welcome back into the studio, the one and only Annie Heilbrunn.
Okay, am I taking on Sean from IB?
You are.
All right.
Sean's number's locked. He did pretty good.
All right.
Pretty good.
And let's see how you do on today's quiz.
All right, Annie.
Braden.
Jerry Lewis and Eddie Murphy played this same movie character, the Nutty what?
Oh, the Nutty Professor. I only
One
know
for
the
one.
name of that. Yes.
If your lips are sealed, what are you doing?
Man, there's a song that I was trying to get in my head to sing, but I don't have it. I have
Go-Go's,
hips
Our
don't
Lips Are
lie.
Sealed?
Like something about yes.
Our lips are sealed.
Yes, keeping a secret.
Keeping a secret
Is
is correct. What is the suffix in the word thickness?
Ness.
Ness. Athletes from the University of Notre Dame are called what?
Fighting Irish.
Fighting Irish. Golden Domers we would have accepted.
Yes.
This color cat is thought to be unlucky by those who are superstitious.
A black cat.
Black cat. Muscles after a workout can hurt and be this for a day or so.
Sore.
Yep.
The car's turn indicator is a what? What is it called?
A light? Like a
What do you call it?
car's turn indicator?
Yeah, when you are going to turn.
Oh, when you're
What's it called?
the blinker?
Blinker.
That's it, the blinker.
This small case on a necklace can hold pictures or tiny items.
Oh, a locket.
A locket, an inquiry, or something asked is a what?
Question.
Thin, dark brown cookie, traditionally constructed into a house with candy decorations.
Gingerbread?
Gingerbread.
Looky
A
there.
perfect 10 for 10.
Perfect 10.
Wow.
Oh,
Sean,
Sean.
you're
Beat
10
so
to
Sean
9.
by
close.
1.
What did Sean miss?
Well, Sean, it wasn't the thickness, it was the thinness of that particular field. It was extremely thin, just one question thick. But Ness was your Loch Ness monster today, dragging you to the deep.
Sean, call back and
Call
play
back,
again.
play again.
You're
Absolutely.
good. You're a good opponent. Like he got 9 out of the
9
10.
9 out of 10 is
Right.
great.
9 out of 10 wins 9 times out of 10.
It really does.
It does.
It really does. But today you ran into Perfect Annie.
They've been those questions have had like the prefix and the suffix.
Yeah.
So like it's just as a disclaimer for everyone, the pre is the beginning of the word, right? And the suffix is the end of the
Is
word.
the end of the word.
I had not had to think about that until this game started putting them in the questions.
Yes.
I looked through some of those questions. There's a lot of ones on there that are like old math questions that you would get. In like
I wouldn't get the old math
school.
ones.
Well,
Yeah.
I was telling Craig, there's like
You might.
there's like multiple answers for these. Like they could be
Right.
multiple things.
Well, a lot of them are ones you haven't thought about. Like who thinks about prefix and suffix? Like you haven't thought about that since school.
I mean, take, for example, Mr. Cow.
Yeah, Mr. King.
That
Yeah,
was
Mr. Cow.
a multiple possible answer right there.
Well, even like if your lips are sealed, what are you doing? He
Yeah.
said staying quiet.
Oh, I feel like that's
It's
correct.
the same. We
Yeah,
gave
it's
I know,
the
but what
same.
I'm,
yeah.
but what I'm
Give it to
saying
him.
is, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like what are you asking for?
Yeah.
There's multiple things. That
Your
you can
lips
say.
are sealed. What are you? I am a Go-Go's single.
An angle
From the
an angle
1980s.
between 90 degrees and 180 degrees is what?
What?
Well,
You
I
never
could-
heard Our Lips Are Sealed?
What?
The song Our
Oh,
Lips Are
that's
Sealed?
probably what I was thinking
Yes.
of. Okay, yeah, I think I was thinking of something. That's
Can you
probably what
pull
I was
that? I
thinking
don't know.
of.
Do you have the music machine there?
Well,
Well, maybe coming back for the next break.
we're not a music station anymore, so they cleaned out all of our access to music.
Really?
Yeah, on our system, unless one of our sister stations has it.
Kixie has Our Lips Are Sealed. For sure. Guaranteed. But anyways, we can figure that one out.
Thanks for playing, Sean.
Thank you. Good job, Sean. We're going to come back. Final hour of the Monday program. What did John Morosi have to say about the Padres? Show reset, Luka fallout, and more. There it is. Go-Go's Our Lips Are Sealed.
That's a song.
That's
this
the
song.
song.
Uh-huh.
There you
This
go.
is the song. Let's get at least to the get to the chorus. Here we go.
It's coming.
The YouTube people think we're nuts.
People play. And now the kicker.
There it is.
Wow. What
We
a
did
moment.
it. We did it, gang. We did it. Hour number 4 of the show. Welcome back. It's Annie and Elsten. On a roll with you, heading toward 2 o'clock. Win and Chris. We'll check in at that point. We assume Chris Ello is back from his...
Trip to Reno?
Yes.
No, wait. No, he's
Wait.
in New Mexico. He's in New Mexico. They won.
Even better, worse. At least Reno, you could go to the casino or something.
I
Go to
haven't-
Albuquerque.
I've never been to Albuquerque, but I've been through New Mexico too many times. I Land of Enchantment, I don't think so. I don't know what's
Land of
enchanting about New Mexico.
Yeah.
There's a lot of,
It's a stretch.
I've gone through the south end of New Mexico 4 times in my life, and every time I'm like, I can't wait to get to El Paso, which is not saying much. Same thing on the way back.
Were you like,
Tucson's
where's the
almost
enchanting
there.
part? Like,
Yeah,
I'm almost
exactly.
there to the enchantment.
Welcome to Texas. All right. Sounds good. Welcome to Arizona. Now, they do have the thing there out in Arizona, the border. That's kind of cool. For all you that drive on Interstate 8 that turns into the 10,
Yeah.
you go check out the thing, which I've made everybody in my family do if they drive through there. The only one that didn't do it was my brother when he drove home from Tennessee this year. He's like, oh, they were closed. It's best $2 you'll spend.
Hang on. We can't get too far behind here. It's 1:02. Thank you, Brandon. Brandon says, time for a name.
Brandon's
you are correct.
on it.
It is time to announce today's Annie and Elsten entry into the Biggest Fan contest. This person is going to have 10 minutes to call the show at 833-288-0973 and qualify for our grand prize, 20 tickets for you and your friends for a night in our Odyssey suite at a Padres game later this season. Remember to register your name at 973thefansd.com/biggest fan. But today's biggest fan is George Burche in Santee.
George.
Bourche. So it could be Borchi. It could be Borche.
How long does he have to call in?
10 minutes.
Now betting George
Clock's
Borche.
ticking, George.
Got until 1:12. George Borche
Meanwhile-
in Santee.
What's her name? Starts with a D.
D.
No,
Yes.
Deirdre? Dolores?
Deirdre.
No, like
Her name was like Darlene.
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 Still waiting for that female.
Still waiting.
You're going to be waiting through next.
Oh, no, really? Maybe on the afternoon show. We don't know the afternoon show's names, do we?
Oh, I know all the names.
Oh, boy.
Well,
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Borche. That sounds like a baseball player.
It does, doesn't it? It could be a hockey player, too.
No betting for the Colorado
Borche
Rockies.
down the
George
line.
Borche.
Oh, Borche, 5 minutes for fighting.
Left winger George Borche.
Could be.
More of a defenseman.
Santee, maybe more of a right winger.
Right
Oh.
wing.
I mean on the hockey ice, on the ice.
The defenseman. Right.
Anyways,
defenseman.
George, good luck. Please call. Only one person so far in a week plus of gaming hasn't called, and it was one of ours, so we're not happy about that.
No, we
Someone else didn't
Gwen
call?
and Chris went 0 for 3 from the field in
No
the final
way!
3 days. Yeah.
Wow!
So we're actually tied for the lead.
Ice cold, Gwen and Chris.
Ben and Woods lost their Thursday thing, and we hit 3 in a row to tie
Okay,
things
come
up.
on, George. We need you, man.
are the phones lighting up yet?
I'm watching.
Okay.
No,
He
not yet.
didn't ring his ding.
George
dong,
Burche in Santee, 833-288-0973. All right, hit and reset on some of the topics of the day here on Annie and Elsten. Reacting to FanFest. You know, we were all out there on Saturday. It was definitely a pleasure to see sunshine, ballpark, ball players, discussion.
Yes.
You know, the small amount of news that came out as follows. We talked about it earlier. Xander Bogaerts will be the shortstop. No surprise.
Right.
No.
In fact, it would have been a shock if they said he wasn't the shortstop, because then we would have had to ask the follow-up question, who is the shortstop? Is he on the team?
Right. Is that someone new that AJ Preller's bringing in? Are they moving someone from another position? But this kind of quiets the noise and also allows both those players, Jake Cronenworth, to know that he's going to play second base and that Xander Bogaerts can spend the offseason preparing for shortstop. And that does leave first base, I guess, a little bit in question. I mean, Luis Ariz, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, because Bogarts is at short, that means Cronenworth's at second. That means Arise has to play first base.
Yeah.
Unless the Padres get a first base /DH that then they could work with.
Or platoon somehow.
Yeah.
Or
Well, maybe Mike Brasso could be the platoon side of that. I mean, it's not impossible that Mike Brasso could be the platoon side of that.
I heard Brandon Belt's available.
He is.
He's not doing anything.
Dude retired instead of taking a job last year.
is he really retired? Do we know?
Well, I mean, he's inactive.
Was Will Myers really retired?
Right. Will Myers is really retired.
Really
I saw
retired.
white queso dip at Trader Joe's the other day.
Yeah.
And I gave a little nod to it, like a little,
Well,
hey,
yeah.
Will. You
Hey,
know what I
Will.
mean?
What's up, Will?
Will's with us still.
Exactly.
Gone but not forgotten.
That's right, just in North Carolina.
Will Myers. Also, that Adrian Morejon would stay in the bullpen, that Brian Hoeing would stay in the bullpen, and that's fine. And the way the Padres look right now, I think it bears repeating kind of what Zips had to say, what a lot of the projection systems had to say. If this team stays healthy, huge if. But if this team stays healthy, if the stars play to a star level, the Padres look firmly like one of the 6 best teams in the National League, which means they should make it to the playoffs. The issue the Padres have right now is they have no depth beyond their top 25 at all. So if they lost a starting pitcher, they really don't have a backup. Today, they don't really have a backup. It would be somebody random from the minor leagues that you don't know. It would be somebody signed off the scrap heap, a la Jake Arrieta a couple of years ago. That's the level the Padres are at right now in terms of if one pitcher went down in the starting rotation, there's nobody behind the group that they have. So that's why we have heard 2 things, Annie. High 80s, but low floor if things go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just don't have a big margin for error if, you don't have a lot of room to breathe if something doesn't go right. And that's inevitable during a baseball season. Things aren't going to go right all year long. So they're going to have to build that in somehow, a little bit of cushion, or AJ Preller is going to work his magic throughout the season, which he sometimes does. He said at FanFest, he told the crowd when they had their leadership panel on stage in front of the fans that they still need a few, he said a few arms and a few bats.
A couple.
A couple
of arms,
arms,
couple bats.
Couple of bats. So again, that means as we know, he's still looking for stuff. He's looking for ways to better this team and some moves that he can make. So I would imagine that's, if it doesn't happen before spring training, it's going to happen at least during or at the beginning of the season.
Someone is calling in. I don't know if it's George, but someone is calling in. I'm going to put them on hold.
Yeah, bat or 2
Good
and an
luck
arm
there.
or 2.
Bat or 2, arm or 2. Yes. Padres need a left fielder. Is it going to be Terso or Nellis? Where are our Terso or Nellis puff piece stories? Are they 2 weeks
they're
away?
coming. They're
Yeah, I was
coming.
going to say, are they 2 weeks away? Because I need some groundwork for belief if Terso or Nellis is going to be an everyday left fielder in Major League Baseball as a rookie.
Cue the Bravery song.
Yeah.
So give me something.
I mean, I need that groundwork.
And
I
it's
need
very
a little
possible that
best
AJ
shape of his
Preller makes
life,
some
winter move.
moves and maybe Tirso is more of a backup.
Brendan Drury, please.
Brigus Brandon Drury.
Bring him home.
And I want to go back to something we talked about on Friday. Buster Olney tweet, but one that I think is kind of being under-discussed. There are a total of either 10 or 11 40-man roster spots across all 30 MLB teams today. Now, it doesn't mean that unlike the Dodgers, you couldn't sign someone and kick someone off your team and DFA someone, but that doesn't normally happen this time of the year. Normally, once you've put people in place now before spring training, you bring all those people to spring training. So as a result, let's say 11, there's 11 roster spots across all of baseball. The Padres have 4 of the 11 open spots, and there's about 80 unsigned veteran major league free agents. So it is inevitable that a group of 40, 50, 60 MLB players, Annie, are going to be asked to either take minor league contracts or retire or sit the season out like Brandon Belt did last year. And it's inevitable that within that group, somebody breaks, somebody agrees to a $1 million contract to come and play for your team.
Oh, yeah.
The Padres are counting on that happening for 2 hitters and 2 pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really good players still out there, and there's some good players who are kind of starting to watch the clock tick down and spring training get closer and closer. And, you'll hold out for as long as you can, but there becomes a comfort part of it too, where the choice of holding out is outweighed by the fact that you want to get with a team, and maybe you have to do another prove-it year. You have to take a little less than you had hoped for. But that's what teams are hoping for right now, not just the Padres, but other teams as well, hoping for some of those deals to get lower and lower as it gets closer and closer to the season as the days go on. Now, the other option here is that A.J. Preller will still make a trade. Maybe he'll get a few of these kind of bargain players, or if they end up being bargain players. But he could also still make a trade with Michael King. Said he would be shocked if he gets traded, but then again, he didn't think he would be traded last year. Dylan Cease said you got to be ready to be traded. He got traded last year from the White Sox at the last minute. So these guys know it can come at any second, and I think it seems like it might be more probable for Dylan Cease than Michael King, but who really knows, right? And maybe it won't happen at all.
Got some breaking news in Major League Baseball. An umpire who has been fired for gambling ties. We leave that as your pregnant tease, and we will come back and tell you what that means. A news story that just broke in the last 5 minutes. Jeff Passan just tweeting about it. We'll bring you the details of that story, plus our interview with Jackson Merrill from Saturday at Padres Fan Fest. All of that still to come. John Morosi on possible Padres moves, kind of building off what Annie just teased as well. So stay tuned. All of that in our next segment right here. Annie and Elsten on The Fan. The Slam Dunk in Vegas National Contest is your chance at the ultimate trip to Sin City. All you have to do is download the Odyssey app, log in, and listen to 97.3 The Fan at least 1 hour to earn your daily entry in this national contest. The grand prize, travel and accommodations for a winner and 3 guests to Circa Resort and Casino, Las Vegas's premium sports viewing destination, where you can watch the biggest March Hoops party at Stadium Swim, plus $20,000 cash.
It's a good prize.
All you got to do, get your daily entry, listen to us an hour a day on the Odyssey app. Doesn't even have to be us. It could be Ben and Woods. It could be Winnie Grace. But make it us. You know, you're listening to us now.
It's better if it's us.
It's way better if it's us. I think you get a slightly better chance to win if you do it on our show.
Is that, do the odds favor that?
Slight.
Disclaimer.
Very slight.
Disclaimer that's not actually accurate. It's not accurate.
Not actually.
Does Pat say that in MLB?
No, it does.
Oh.
So here's
We'll
the story.
see it, buddy. Huh? Jeez.
Jesse Rogers reporting, Jeff Passan retweeting. Breaking per Major League Baseball, umpire Pat Hoberg, is one of the highest rated umpires. Was one of the highest rated umpires.
Man, it sucks to lose a good one.
Yeah. Well, he's been fired for sharing. Now, this is interesting. Pat Hoberg has been fired, not for betting on baseball, but for sharing an account with a friend who bet on baseball, even though, according to this tweet, there is no evidence Hoberg himself bet on games or that he manipulated any games that he worked. However, he did delete messages central to MLB's investigation. So,
what you hiding there, buddy?
I mean, seems like a weird situation. And I guess if you're MLB, you have to draw the line in some of these and make it known that you're not going to tolerate any kind of connection to gambling within your game. I mean, obviously, we've seen them do that in the past. So maybe that's one of these situations, because this one's a weird one. I mean,
well, let's go back to the DraftKings MLB desk and get some response from Matt Discursion and John Heyman.
Right. I said MLB wants to draw the line that there's no connection with gambling, even though they're very connected to gambling.
In every league.
So that's a good ironic twist.
I mean, how many of our... I mean, I had one in the Sports Fix today with like some other gambling scandal that has leaked into college basketball. I mean, maybe making a deal with betting companies is not a great idea. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, especially in the story you had, it was like North Carolina A&T... And who
Eastern
else?
Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah, directional schools.
And Mississippi Valley State, who's notoriously the worst team in college basketball every year.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they're the worst team in college basketball.
HBCUs, mid-majors, Sun Belts, directional schools. There's still kids playing there.
You can't monitor all of them.
You can't monitor everybody, but you can make a prop bet on just about anybody. So, I mean, there's never been a field more rife for corruption than what we have now. But in the particular case of an umpire, of all the people who could be corrupt, of all the people who could literally change bets and change a ball into a strike, change an out into safe, an umpire must be sacrosanct. So I'm fine with you're fired because your account info was on this account. Even though we can't prove you used it. We can't prove you didn't.
Right. Even in this article on ESPN, they're saying that they don't find any proof that he actually bet on games or that he threw anything a certain direction. That really the wrongdoing isn't in that area that he actually was betting. It was that he opened this account. It says MLB began its investigation into Hoberg in February 2024 after the longtime umpire opened an account with a licensed sports betting operator in his own name. The operator detected that Hoberg's personal electronic device associated with the new account was also associated with the legal sports betting account of an individual who had bet on baseball. Like you said, deleted some messages. And Hoberg made a statement and said, "I take full responsibility for the errors in judgment that are outlined in today's statement. Those errors will always be a source of shame and embarrassment to me." He said, "To be clear, I have never and would never bet on baseball in any way, shape, or form. I have never provided any information. Upholding the integrity of the game has always been of the utmost importance to me." Seems like a shame then, I guess, to lose your job and lose your respect in the profession, because now the thing is you could keep him on the field, but there's always going to be that talk around him. Well, did he call it a strike for this reason? Did he call it a ball for that reason? Did he say that he touched home? Is there something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about? And
he loses his credibility.
Yeah, you lose your credibility.
Well, here's the other thing.
Exactly.
I mean, you can feel bad for him while he was, well, I didn't bet, but you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
I mean, it's just
you shouldn't even be affiliated with that at all. And here's the thing now. It's like with this day and age and it's everywhere, as we've mentioned before, the access to this is so easy. It's not like before, like when it was outlawed and you're trying to find like a bookie and it's like all these hoops and you got to jump through to try to make things happen where you're being super secretive and all this other stuff, where a lot of people just be like, I don't even want to waste my time trying to figure this out. Yeah. But now that it's legal and it's everywhere and people around you and your circles are doing it and they can do it on their phone and they're in the right state where you can do this. It's just it's making it so much harder to try to police. I mean, the ones that we thought about at the beginning when this first was starting to really hit its stride, it's like, all right, why are the Chiefs getting all of these like bets to win? But it's not that. I mean, there's so many selective things. It's not. It's like we've seen in the NBA where the prop bets on individual players that are borderline fantasy, and then it's got a lot of gray areas. I mean, to tell a player to throw a game for a victory for the other team is so like blatantly obvious, but to have him maybe only get one less rebound than he normally would, that's not like out of the realm of possibility. That's an easier thing to do. Or as we saw with the Porter guy or whatever in the NBA, it's like he just took himself out.
Right.
I mean,
I don't feel good.
My head hurts. Yeah. How are you going to check that? My vision's blurry. You can't check that. Well, I mean, the doctors will have no idea, right? Take yourself out. You do minutes played. I mean, there's so many different wormholes to go down with this betting thing that obviously the people that are in on fixing things behind the scenes and ones that can make money off of this are very creative with.
Yeah, and you can't share an account with someone that's betting, and then you delete messages. It doesn't look good.
Yeah, I know the NCAA with a lot of with working in athletics, and I haven't signed this document at USD because I'm an independent contractor, but I did do it at TCU, and I'm definitely mindful of this as you work for a university. The NCAA does not mess around when it comes to these allegations, to the point of you can't even play fantasy sports for money of the sports that the NCAA has and all this other stuff. And I've seen that I know somebody that worked at Baylor had a friend that was betting on different sports, but it wasn't NCAA sports. But since the NCAA had that sport, he ended up losing his job. And it's like there's so many different there's some serious consequences to a lot of these things. That's why the saying in the NCAA when they give out this presentation all the time is don't bet on it. Like there's no winning here. If you're involved with sports, you cannot gamble like your buddies do or whatever on sports. You have now committed to working in sports, and that's in all different levels. And the thing that's interesting for us entertainers on the radio, it's like we got endorsements for it now. I mean, it's such a complicated thing to do with DraftKings and all this other stuff. I mean, I watched there was a commercial the other day for ESPN Bet. It's all the on-air people for a show talking about ESPN Bet and Bet with ESPN Bet and all this other stuff. But meanwhile, they have all this insider access to all of the leagues. I mean, there's so much conflict of interest in what's right and what's wrong. It is such murky waters in the gambling thing because it makes so much money for these leagues.
Yeah, and I mean, Ipe lost all of his baseball bets. It's not a guarantee that because you're inside that you're going to be able to win the bets, but you can't have the perception of shadiness or else you lose the integrity of the sport. And that's why Pete Rose was never going to be into the Hall of Fame and never will be in the Hall of Fame, and he's dead now, so it doesn't matter anyway. But also it's why Pat Hoberg, who famously called 129 pitches exactly right, Game 2 of the 2022 World Series, considered the single best ball strike calling umpire in the game. And they'll just, not only did they cut him, but, going through this story, they fired him last year. He appealed. This was the result of an appeal that this was announced today. He was fired in May of last year. And then he appealed the process, and so he got to keep working during that time. But this was coming down the line for Pat Hoberg for a while. So,
yeah.
Rough situation, good reminder, as Braden said, if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. We played a great game and won a great prize on Saturday. The game was come out and do a show at FanFest. The prize was you get to talk to maybe the best rookie in baseball, Jackson Merrill. Mm-hmm. And we had that opportunity on Saturday afternoon. Let's bring you that conversation. It's about 7 minutes long, as Annie and I and Braden got the chance to chat with Jackson.
Jackson, how are you? It's good to see you.
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing great.
It's incredible to have you here, Craig and Annie. It's great to see you, man. And for all the Padres fans, you were out in the community yesterday, here at FanFest today. What's the feeling just to kind of reconnect to the San Diego public?
It's good to be back. I mean, I feel like I was away for so long, so I'm excited to be back, for it to be packed again in here.
Okay, well, the last time we left you, you were watching, unfortunately, the loss to the Dodgers. You stayed out there as long as you could. You were just sad the baseball season ended, right? And then you talked a little bit about how you had never taken so many swings in your life as you did last year. I want to know what the offseason was like. Like, when did you start getting bored? When did you pick up a bat? Did you change your training program at all? How'd it go?
I was bored the first week. I don't think I made it past, like, day 3 without being bored. It was nice, relaxing, I'll say, taking some time off and just being myself and going to do some stuff I like to do. It was fun, but I got so bored so fast. You know, those days where you're sitting around, there's literally nothing to do, and you're just sitting there, and you're just like, you're just curious, you know. You're like, your friends. My friends are all in college, so like they have class, and you know they're doing stuff, but I'm sitting there, and I'm like, wow, I have nothing to do, so I'm ready to go again.
I believe it.
Jackson, along those lines, right? A year ago at this time, a young man fighting to get to the big leagues, right? All the confidence in the world, all the hope, but a lot of unknowns. Never having played center field before, not guaranteed a roster spot coming in. You go through the season, hopefully of your dreams, you know, almost Rookie of the Year, All-Star in your first season, an incredible year. What's this winter been like for you in terms of this time last year you could probably walk down the street pretty easily. Now everyone knows who you are. Everyone knows what you've done.
I treat it the same as I did last year. You know, regardless of reputation, that doesn't really matter to me. But on the field, like, your work shows in your performance. So for me, I took my time off, but after that, I went straight back to it. You know, I still kind of picture myself having to make the team and make the leap to center field and really, like, you know, get good enough to the point in center field where it feels like super home. You know, I only have 1 year of center field on my belt, right. So, you know, continuing to develop that skill and then developing the hitting too. Hitting's the hardest part of baseball. So giving myself time to develop that and get better, you know, that was huge this offseason. So staying humble, same thing that I did last year. I got to grind for it, and I got to work for it.
Yeah, you definitely didn't look like a first-year center fielder out there. It's remarkable to look back and think about how spring training, you were just learning that position, and now you're going back again this year, your sophomore season. Yeah. Is there anything that you look back on from your first year in the big leagues that maybe surprised you, either about yourself or about what life was like up here?
How easy it is to make friends.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of these guys are older than me. They're around the age of 30, you know, they're mid-20s, upper 20s to 30, and my brother is around the same age as them, so I kind of grew up with them my entire life. You know, that same age range has made it a lot easier to make friends and make a new family, but it gave me time to, like, build new relationships, you know, not just, like, meet them and know their name and know they're my teammate, but to know that they care about me as much as I care about them is huge.
We're talking with Jackson Merrill here live from FanFest on 97.3 The Fan. Again, a winter, you said you got bored early. I'm sure that mind's been working the whole time. How do you think the league adjusts to you this year? How do you think other pitchers adjust to you this year?
I mean, I don't really know what their plans are or how they're going to attack me. I felt last year was just kind of weird. You know, there was no specific plan. It was just like try to get them out. But I hope they do the same thing this year, and I just try to get a hit. You know, I like how that's my version of baseball is you play to what they're giving you. You know, you hit the ball where it's pitched. You do what you're supposed to do your job. So I'm not going to adjust any of my game besides the small, you know, the small things you have to get better. But other than that, I'm going to play the same game, and hopefully they play the same game too.
There's been a lot of outside noise about what the Dodgers are doing or maybe what the Padres haven't done yet. Are you guys paying any attention to that? What's the mindset between you and your teammates?
I mean, it's pretty clear right in front of us. Like, it's not like we don't try to pay attention to it, but it's pretty hard to miss. You know, it's kind of all over social media and all that stuff. But we don't even mind that stuff. You know, that's not us. That's not our job, and we're worried about playing baseball. We're worried about getting better. You know, I got guys in the room been playing baseball for 10 years in the league already, and it's like, well, you know, they've had ownerships in the past. They've had stuff like this. They've had teams in the past that have really not gotten along. But we're an org here. You know, we all still go along. There's nothing wrong with us. just because we're not adding a bunch of players and all this stuff, people get the intention that we're not trying to win and, we're not doing the best we can. But, like, you understand, we're playing a baseball game here. Like, we can beat anybody with the team that we have right now. So,
I love that, Jackson. Along those lines, I know you love all the mates in the room, but, like, who's somebody you're really excited to see take a step forward this year? One of the guys that you're behind that you're like, I think this is his year.
I say Tyler Wade. That's my guy. He's kind of like me. He's been a role player in the past years, and I think he has so much room, dude. He has so much room to get better and keep getting better, and he's already so good. He's teaching me things, and I'm playing more than him, but he's still teaching me things like when he's on the bench and when we're talking about stealing or whatever it is on defense. Like, he's still helping me. So I think that guy gets more playing time this year. Like, he's the man. He's the man in the clubhouse too. He's the man on the bench. Like, he's the guy you want to go and talk to when you first get there. So Tyler Wade.
2 quick ones. We saw you at the Aztecs game. How was that, just to be out in the community and enjoying another sport?
Yeah, it was cool. I love basketball. Went to the Aztecs game, went to a San Diego Clippers game about a month ago. Yeah, we've been doing all sorts of stuff, so it's nice to kind of get out of the community and just be normal. That's how I like it.
And your girlfriend Sam posted yesterday you looking at your bobblehead. Is it kind of surreal just to kind of see your own bobblehead? And do you think it looked like you?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think the tattoo on it is especially perfect. It actually has the same detail that my arm has, so I think that's cool. I'm honored. I'm honored to even have a bobblehead this year. If I didn't have one, it wouldn't change me though. I would never be begging for a bobblehead. I just want to go play baseball.
What's the biggest thing you're planning on working on this spring?
Base running. I think base running. I want to steal more. I want to take more bags and be more aggressive. I want to turn singles into doubles as much as possible. So probably base running.
Love it. Well, listen, man, I know we got to get you to a press availability here in a minute, but you've given us 7 minutes, and we really appreciate it. It's going to be a wild day, I know, but we look forward to seeing you out in Peoria even more out there in center field opening day.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jackson. Take care. Have a good day today.
There he goes.
There's
He's outta
so much I love about that interview. It is his willingness to want to get better at center field, a position he was very good at, but his acknowledgement of I just learned this position. I just had 1 year there, so I can get it. There's a lot more upside. He wants to work on base running, wants to turn a single into a double, and you heard him there. I think that's cool. High on Tyler Wade. When you've got a guy like Jackson propping you up the same way Tyler Wade's probably propping him up, I think that's a lot of fun. And you just feel it with Jackson. He's like, we nothing wrong with us. We're gonna ride. We're gonna go with our team.
Stock's rising. Tyler Wade is locked in. Locked in. Hey, that's a great answer. But that reminds me again of what I said about the Trevor interview. When you're a band of brothers, it's different. You're not out there trying to come up with the craftiest answer, It's your guys.
No,
you're going to back your guys.
Jackson fully believes what he's saying there.
Right.
And Tyler Wade could go out and have an incredible year, but Jackson's saying that too because he's seeing what Tyler Wade does behind the scenes, and Tyler Wade works his behind off behind the scenes. He's a great clubhouse guy as well. So when you're a guy like Jackson, you're coming up in the big leagues and you're surrounded by not only superstars, but guys who, as Jackson said himself, I'm playing more than him, guys who are more of a role player, working at that same level of intensity and trying to get themselves better. That's kind of what lifts everyone up.
All right, just very briefly, because we're about to get to Ask Us Anything. We don't have enough time to play John Morosi, and we can play John Morosi tomorrow. He's going to say something about the Padres tomorrow too. But in his Today MLB Network report, speculation more than report, he mentioned the idea of, AJ could go trade prospects for big league veterans, and that could be something he does this spring. Who? I don't see it. I don't see us trading Salas or DeVries.
No, he actually said maybe a Salas or DeVries, but then he said, actually, but maybe not. Maybe it's the lower level minor leaguers. I'm not sure what that would get you, but he said maybe like 4 or 5 lower level minor leaguers in the Padres system, and that's who you're moving. I mean, left field, too, we were just talking about it. David Peralta would kind of solve a little bit of that issue. If you bring back David Peralta, it feels like you could afford him. The Padres, or they should be able to afford him. But yeah, I'm not sure who you would trade at the minor league level. Actually, what I should say is I'm not sure what you would get back.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of the A.J. Preller concept of trading 5 nickels for a quarter. That's what he likes to do. But I don't know that we have 5 nickels to trade right now. We traded most of them last year. It's why the Padres have the 25th ranked system, and below Salas and DeVries, the next highest ranked prospect is Cash Mayfield, number 197. Maybe. I'm going to say to that one, okay, John, cool, man. Let's see what happens. I'm going to guess that doesn't happen.
Maybe at the deadline after they draft a bunch of players, the replacements,
Yes.
the ones that they trade away.
Yeah.
Or hope for 3 months of helium for some kids at Fort Wayne or some kids at Lake Elsinore.
Right.
That I believe, because that's what we do. Pump and dump, hype and flip. That's what we do with our minor league system. It's not a derogatory term. It's a way to use your system. It's not what everyone does, but it's what AJ does. He gets prospect rankings to rise, and then he moves those guys, except for the very few that he actually believes are going to be impact big league players. And he believed that about Jackson Merrill. He believed that about C.J. Abrams, Mackenzie Gore. And he believes that about about Ethan Salas and Leodalis DeVries. So, okay. Tell me what you can cook up on a minor leaguer for big leaguer trade out of the Padres system. If you can do it, more power to you, brother. All right, let's take a timeout. It's 1:38. Time to open up the phones for Ask Us Anything. 833-288-0973. Lines are open now. 833-288-0973. Give us a ring. You've got 12 minutes to call the show. And if you do any time in the next 12 minutes, we're going to throw you on hold. We're going to put you on the air. Let's get some callers lined up. Let's get a little momentum. Just come ready with a question to ask Annie, Braden, and I. Ask Us Anything to wrap up Annie and Elsten after this quick timeout on the Fan. 144, welcome back. Gwen and Chris are in the house. They're ready to roll.
On deck.
Yep.
Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ella, and Matt Scraby have moved to the on-deck circle.
I'd say they were swinging the bats with the weighted donuts on them, but
That's right.
there's only one bat, and it's right here.
I ain't
You
swinging.
can see it in the
Fight at
picture
the bat.
on YouTube.
Fight at the bat rack after the weekend NBA trade. You know, Tony's chomping
Oh,
at the bit.
yeah.
Oh, you know it.
He is champing.
Big time Lakers fan that he is.
He is.
Yes.
He was speechless on the weekend. One of my buddies texted him, and he just didn't have too much to say. He's probably trying to figure out if it was still real.
Yes.
I get it.
Is this real life?
Is this
Can't
real
believe
life?
this is my life. LeBron James emoji.
I'm
Or,
looking forward to
meme.
sharing a Lakers hug with Tony here momentarily.
Celebratory.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go, Luka. You know, hey, I didn't know I was going to become a Luka Doncic fan in my life, but here we are.
Has he played it all this year?
Yeah, he played before Christmas.
Okay.
And then he hurt his calf, and he's been out
Injured.
5 weeks. He's been out 5-6 weeks now. So he'll be back. He'll be back eventually. Doesn't even matter this year. Nothing matters. He's 25.
Do the Lakers have any ability to
Like
make it
win?
to the postseason and win? And
Oh, they have the ability to make it to the postseason.
okay, well, if he's healthy by the time that if the Lakers can
I
make
mean,
it to the postseason, then
Yeah.
20 out of the 30 teams make the postseason.
then you got a chance.
In
you got
a,
Luka
in a
on your
sense,
team
yes,
now.
with the play-in games.
You're technically
with the
in
play-in
the
games.
postseason.
The Lakers right now are in a top 6 position. Losing Anthony Davis will hurt them. The amount of
Yeah,
time it
yeah.
takes for Doncic to come back
Right.
also impacts the team because
Yeah.
they don't have him right now.
And you don't have AD.
It's a weird fit in terms of they're both ball dominant players, LeBron James and Luka Doncic. So there's the question of, enough balls to go around, so to speak. Can they make it work? I think they can. I suspect they can, and I suspect they will. And I suspect Luka will be the one with the ball more than LeBron.
Do you think this trade was run through LeBron, like most things are on the
At
Lakers?
least they're reporting no.
I don't think it was.
Okay.
I think they kept this on the DL.
Yeah. And by that, we don't mean the the disabled list, because that's gone. We mean the down low. The down low.
This has been Hip Craig.
Yes. This is called the down low.
Oh, wow.
Wow. No cap. No cap, Craig.
Let's just play the bumper.
It's really slaps.
It's probably time to play the bumper. Here we go. We got a good lineup of callers all lined up. 833-288-0973. Let's try and get you all on the air. In the order of your arrival, here's Roberto in San Marcos. Hi, Roberto. Ask us anything.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Doing all right.
Good.
Craig, my question for you is why do you like soccer? Like, because most people don't. Do you have like a European background, or did you play as a youth? And for Annie, my question is, what made you get into radio?
Okay. Well, would you like to
Okay,
go
sure,
first?
yes, absolutely. Well,
Annie, would you like to go first?
I've done, I had the opportunity, first of all, presented to me. Thank you to Adam and Michael and the Odyssey folks, and hadn't done it before, so I thought it would be an interesting and good challenge. So I decided to make this leap.
Okay. Sounds good. You're doing
I'd like
great,
to
by the way.
challenge the premise of your question, which is that nobody likes soccer, so why do you like soccer? Because it's literally the
I mean,
globe's
I
most
do,
popular sport.
It's my number one sport, and I'm not really used to people on the radio talking about it. I just want to know, why do you like it?
Yeah, well, I mean, we both like. Why do you like soccer, Roberto? I mean, it's the world's game, right? It's an incredible
It's my
sport.
favorite sport. I played it. All I want to do is watch soccer. I love it. I love everything about it.
Absolutely. Now, I did not grow up with a European background. In fact, it's just funny, Roberto, because somebody actually had this question last week on
Really,
Ask
on
Us.
Friday.
Yeah, on Friday. And I didn't grow up with a European background. I still don't have an EPL team. I've supported American soccer leagues, and I got into it through indoor soccer, and that led me to outdoor soccer. And then really the biggest conversion for me was becoming a supporter. And first it was for LAFC in their 32-52 in the big, giant black wall of supporters, and then being in the locals and supporting San Diego Loyal, and now heading to San Diego FC. That's where I truly started to learn and understand what it means that it's the people's game. Soccer is the people's game. It's the game that still has ground roots and isn't entirely for billionaires. And I get that Saudi Arabia owns half the teams in the EPL. So anyways, I don't want to get too far down the road, but thank you, Roberto. Great questions. Here's
Thanks,
Carlos
Roberto.
in National City. Hi, Carlos. Ask us anything.
Hey, guys. Question for Braden. So
All
I was
right.
there at FanFest, and I slightly bumped into the camera, and Braden gave me this, you're in trouble look, like, when you get in trouble with your parents. My bad.
Guy was getting too close to the camera the whole time. Guy was right there on top of it.
Yeah, people were pushing closer and closer, and I'm like, I had no more elbow room.
You're good, dude.
Braden is forgiving you, Carlos.
That's right. Camera didn't break. That's all that matters. We fixed it. We're all good.
All right, perfect.
All right, man. Thanks for calling. That was
Apologize
funny.
for anything, apparently, is the new name of the segment.
Yeah. Anthony in the chat says, ask us anything. Who was your favorite person from the chat to meet this weekend, and why was it me?
I don't have a favorite. You all were great. Everybody was awesome.
Co-number ones.
Can't be a favorite if you went to Saints. Sorry.
Here's Don in Point Loma. Hi, Don. Ask us anything.
Hey, Craig. First question is, do we get an extra draft pick with Jackson Merrill coming in second place in the Rookie of the Year?
Well, we would have if he finished first.
We don't get one.
Right.
Sad.
You don't get one?
Yeah, we don't. No.
Lame.
Okay. And Annie, did you watch the Grammys last night?
I didn't watch the Grammys. I saw clips online. I saw some of the outfits. I also saw where the AP reporters just completely dismissed Babyface in his red carpet interview and went right to Chapel Roan and now they had to apologize and it was a whole thing. I saw some of the more viral moments. What did I miss?
Well, one thing that they didn't let anybody see is they didn't have any rock bands on the stage last night. Just push them aside, let all the pop show up, some of the alternative rock. Some of those people I never even heard of. Then again, I was born in '59, so my choice of music, my music would be Led Zeppelin, the old guys, everything else.
Oh, absolutely.
And they had the Beatles, but it was some video AI generated.
Oh,
thing.
wow. Oh, boy.
Wow.
Don, you might be getting too old for the Grammys. I'm just saying.
Rants on the Grammys was not on my bingo card.
Yeah,
for the
but I
day.
enjoyed it. I enjoyed the Grammy
That
rants.
was great.
Thank you.
That was
Yes.
good.
That was amazing,
Yeah, I
Don.
love it. Here's Paul and Ramona. Hi, Paul. Ask us anything.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up?
Hey, I'm born and raised in San Diego. So show me your lightning bolts, Southern California. But Craig, this is at you. How come it's okay to support an LA team, but not another LA team? And
Yeah,
I think
it
you know where I'm
seems so
going with this.
hypocritical, doesn't it? I mean, seems completely hypocritical. Paul, I can only speak to my own personal history. I grew up supporting the Lakers. I grew up a Lakers fan. I grew up with Magic and Kareem and Worthy and Byron Scott and Kurt Rambis and Michael Cooper, one of the greatest eras of the NBA that exists. And that's in my history. That's imprinted into me. Now, the Dodgers were imprinted into me, and I moved on because we've got a team in San Diego, and I've lived in San Diego since 1990. NBA has not been in San Diego in my adult lifetime. The last time
Can I
there
ask
was a
you one thing, Craig?
Yeah.
If you were to take away our douchebag owner in LA, Mr. You know what, Spanos, do you think it would be a lot different and people would be more willing to go back?
I
mean, we have
if they move back to
we
San
have
Diego.
our colors.
Yeah, if they moved
If
back,
they move
that's the whole
back,
thing.
yeah.
They left. I mean,
if they
they
stay
left.
in L.A., Paul, as a born and raised San Diegan, absolutely not.
But
they
I
could
get
kick
it.
rocks.
No, but I get it. Paul's a Charger fan, and he's making a very logical
I get it, Paul.
argument.
Yeah.
That's right.
Craig, you're supporting the Lakers. What's the matter with the Chargers? Why is it okay for you and it's not okay for me? And, man, I hear you. I do hear you. Where I personally draw the distinction is I was a San Diego Chargers fan. I wasn't a Rams fan. I wasn't a Raiders fan. I was a Chargers fan, and they left my city. And they moved up there.
And they blame the fans as part of the leaving. And that was hard. That was hard to swallow.
And they blamed the voters as well. And that didn't fly for me.
Just a logo, man. It's just a logo.
Hey, Paul, great question, though. Great call. Magic, sorry we didn't get you. Call us back tomorrow. For Andy and Braden, I'm Craig. See ya. Gwen and Chris is next.